Everyone? Welcome to the Steeming Pile 31 special U.S. midterm election coverage. You can't see me yet because everyone's still getting ready, but I'm bringing up my Guardian background. So the Guardian, I like their coverage. So I use that. And as you can see, Democrats have lost 3. Check, check. We can hear you. This is what we usually call a raggedy start. Sounds good.
Especially a couple ballot measures that are going on here. And I know Sean has one too. I think it had to do with gun policy. So I'm actually intrigued with that guy. So yeah, it's going to be a fun night, you guys.
Indeed.
Sounds good. I'm live over here. Who else is live?
I am live.
All right.
Let me fade on over to the live shot. There we go. Hey, everyone.
Got a weird window here with my page.
A weird window, you said?
Well, it's showing up weird. So I don't know what that's about. But we're live over here, getting ready to do our U.S. midterm election special. I don't know how special it is.
Yeah, I know.
So where's everyone broadcasting to or calling in from tonight?
Calling in from Colorado tonight.
Okay.
Colorado. Not live streaming, unfortunately, but still have to be present for this guy. So it's kind of, I don't know. We'll see how it goes, man. I've got a lot to say about tonight.
I like it.
Nice. Intriguing. Let's see. Patrick, I think everyone else is Vimming it tonight. Is that right? Am I right?
Yeah, I'm on Vim as well. Just
All
now,
right.
finally went live myself.
Nice. Well, welcome to all your followers as well. Yeah, I mean, tonight there's really, the Republicans are kind of attacking in, one place and then trying to defend in Congress. So, that's pretty much the name of the, the overall theme of the night, I would say. But I haven't really looked too closely. It's still pretty early, but I know it's closed on the East Coast. Our old friend Tim Canova, who I've interviewed at least before, is trying to get Debbie Wasserman Schultz out of office over in Florida still. So here's hoping he's doing good. And I know the races are tight over there. So. Yeah, the build up to this has really gotten me like, okay, I'm going to start there's got to be some kind of regular politics show. I don't know if there's one yet, but I'm going to look into it. There's got to be something out there. And if not,
you're going to start it, right?
Shit, yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be something going on for sure. Just to, I guess, stay focused, if you will. Not that, we're all on the same page, but keep conversations focused.
Tonight?
No, I mean in general.
Forever.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree that
yeah, because I think I mean, just with the whole midterms and stuff, we've heard a lot of like You know, they're the most important midterms in a lifetime and all this crazy stuff. So there's been an incredible amount of propaganda against the Republicans, against Trump. So it's and you know, at least from the Democratic standpoint, everybody's hoping for they're at least hoping for a blue wave. So there's, you know, turnout I think is going to be huge just because of that, because you have this propaganda and everybody, at least on this Democratic side, wanting to go in and say, all right, let's get Republicans out of office. Then you got the Republican side that are hearing all this propaganda saying not happening. So it's going to be a huge voter turnout, man. I'm like curious to see which way every state leans towards. So yeah, and lots of like at least pretty good ballot measures. I think California had a couple good ones that are. I think California is the one that had a private banking or public banking or something like that, public national bank or something that had to do with financing. That sounded intriguing. It's kind of fits in line with you know, this sovereignty of finances, like what's going on with the crypto space.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
What's up, Sean?
one thing that I noticed today that people are talking about is just, you know, there's so many people are dealing with voter suppression and, you know, whatever form that is, from just long lines to limited poll stations to, you know, whatever, you know, we're seeing just them pull out all stops, you know. And then you have mail-in ballots, thankfully, in Washington State. And still, I was on the fence because the one thing I was taking me so long to mail in on was 1639, which is that gun ballot that Mickey was referring to. And so that one was taking me a long time to decide on. And so I actually waited till today, this morning. And even this morning at the ballot boxes, there was lines. So it's like people procrastinate no matter what, right? They don't know what they're missing or what, you know, they don't know how lucky they got it, you know, being in a mail-in state, but you know, still.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys want to jump straight into it, but can you give us like a quick summary of that gun measure or that portion of the ballot that you had a hard time with? Maybe
Absolutely.
pros and cons of you know, just an overview, because I'm curious.
Well, here's my thing. I always go all encompassing with ideas. You know, it's one thing to look at a specific idea to me and decide yes or no on it. But I always extrapolate to like the bigger picture. So people that are looking at my stream here, they can see the write-up on it. And it's Washington Initiative 639. The name of its changes to gun ownership and purchase requirements is, you know, what the change is. And the most interesting thing to me is, I guess I was ultimately led to my decision of a yes vote based on the fact that it went through the Washington State Supreme Court. I was worried about how it would be looked upon as making what is maybe a Second Amendment right more of like a privilege, you know, is what a lot of the other side is saying. And I totally get that to a lot of extent, because they're taking a lot of ideas and throwing them. So it's like, in Washington State, you have to be 21 to buy a handgun, but not other types of weapons. So that's changing. There's background checks.
Colorado.
Right, background checks with fees, which people are saying, well, that's regressive, right? It's going to hurt the poor. And then there's waiting periods, storage requirements would make it not far from where I am. Someone got into a locker that was unlocked and went and killed some people. So there would be punishments for that if your gun is registered to you and it is stolen and it wasn't being kept properly and that sort of thing. So there's lots of things that are, you know, being pushed onto this. And so I was really wondering, you know, how it constitutionally would add up. And, you know, the local courts actually denied it, and it actually made it up to Washington State to the Supreme Court of the state, and they actually let it go ahead and be on the bill. And so, I love that. If this was federal, I probably would have said no. But since it's a state thing, I love the state experiments. Washington's full of all sorts of them, and Seattle as a city is as well. So I just wonder what the short-term solution is if it's not this. The other thing people were worried about is it opens up the health records of people. But again, maybe if that's a short-term thing, right? It's a short-term answer for the problems we have with mental health. But I think, it might, if we can see data that it's helping it all in the area, then maybe it's something that we can extrapolate to the country as a whole. So those are the things. So I ultimately voted yes, but that one was tough. So
yeah, I probably okay, good stuff. I probably would have leaned towards the other side, but I could absolutely appreciate the reason for experimentation, for sure. But
yeah.
one thing that I would probably jump into is so from like a general standpoint, I know we need something put in place, something put in place. I don't know what the answer is though. The problem with, and this is just the way I think, the problem with something like, let's say it does pass, I think instead of people waiting for results, they will just prematurely say, okay, it passed, let everybody else pass it too. But that might not be the solution, right? We have to wait for results and wait for data to come back and see how things are going.
Yes, you could think that, but Seattle did $15 minimum wage, and it's not like that's sweeping the country, even though many think that it's had positive outcomes in the area.
Yeah, I just.
But I get what you're saying for sure.
Yeah, I just, for example, yeah, totally. If we're having to pay for the background checks, and that it does for the disenfranchised already, they've got to fork up stuff that they don't have.
I think it was like $20 though, so it's like if you can afford to buy the gun, can't you afford the $20 that goes along with it?
Okay, fair enough. And then the storage of these things, how do you, at the end of the day, how do you conclude that somebody was mishandling the storage of these things?
Yes, that is a gray area. I agree. Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be a case by case, and that can be dangerous.
Jesus.
Yeah,
exactly. Right.
It's true.
Good stuff.
There's also like a carbon tax one, but that was easy. You just followed the money on that one for us. Basically, all of its supporters were big oil. So that was an easy yes for me. And that was pretty much it. Other than, our prosecuting attorney was an interesting race. Both Democrats, one kind of old school, one that wanted to remove the bail system. He said, hey, being rich or poor should not determine whether you stay in jail after getting in trouble. Let's eliminate the bail system. I was like, oh, this guy's shaking shit up. So, but yeah, those were the interesting ones in my neck of the woods. How about the rest of you?
Hey guys, really quickly, I'm just testing my sound on my stream.
Sounds good to me.
We can hear you.
Yo, yo.
Bah. I'm going to switch back to my main.
I'm pulling up one here. Ohio issue 1 is the only controversial one here. I don't know if you guys knew this one or not. I'm bringing it up now. I won't be able to share my screen, just because my computer's already running slow. There's just something that happens when I start streaming that for some reason it affects my download speed as well. Either that or my computer's just getting old. But this one was trying to tackle mandatory sentences and things like that for drug offenses, and it was a really hot button issue, and it was comprehensively written, and I don't really know where a lot of the support was coming from, other than it was really trying to manage prison sentences and things like that. But oh, here we go. To reduce penalties for bring it back up. 1 second. I'm gonna go to just browser. Move it over a little bit so you can see it on my screen. To reduce penalties for crimes of obtaining, possessing, and using illegal drugs. If adopted, the amendment would require sentence reductions of incarcerated individuals. If the individual participates in rehabilitative work programming, mandating that criminal offenses of obtaining, possessing, or using any drugs such as fentanyl, heroin, methamphetamine, coke, LSD, or other controlled substances cannot be classified as a felony, but only as a misdemeanor. Prohibit jail time as a sentence for obtaining any of those drugs. Allow an individual convicted of possessing, obtaining, or using an amendment to ask the court to reduce a conviction to a misdemeanor, and require any available funding based on projected savings to be applied to state-administered rehabilitation programs and crime victim funds. So that's like the gist of it. It was,
Interesting, yeah.
And it got rejected really because, well, there were a couple studies. One thought that it would decrease prison population, but it would inadvertently increase costs in the mental health and treatment areas, which is probably true. And then the other one was it was allowing for the possession of even small amounts of meth and fentanyl and heroin. And with the opioid epidemic in Ohio, with being like probably one of the centers, it just wasn't going. It wasn't going to go anywhere to have a bill written that would allow for that type of possession when a lot of cities and the state in general is getting money to fight the heroin epidemic. So
I mean, it's
it
completely
failed.
ridiculous that they're fighting stuff that people would want. You know, if you're that type of individual that wants to do that stuff, and yes, this might be hypocritical because I'm a straight edge person, but you know, at least I'm an anarcho-punk type deal, and I'm gonna stand up for people's point of view. But I don't agree with the government saying, "Oh yeah, you can't do that because a bunch of your neighbors next door don't like it."
So you would have voted yes. You would have said that it's okay, and those people should get reduced sentences, and we
Of
should be
course.
allowed to walk
Because
around with those
when you
things.
let the government tell you what to do, then you're basically giving away your sovereignty, your freedom, and
Yeah, I would kind of lean towards that too. You know, and it might be, who knows, man. It is a pretty controversial topic, but although I do agree that people shouldn't be put away for shit like that. We should be investing more in rehabilitation institutions instead of throwing people in jail. Yeah, they need help, man. I mean, what's the issue? What's going on? Because at the end of the day, you're not if you're overdosing or consuming these things at an alarming rate, you're essentially fucking yourself up. You need somebody to help you out, lift you up, maybe something like that, right? So I wouldn't I don't agree with locking people up. What it does make me question is how many free open spaces is it gonna, how many cells does it increase, and who are they making room for? Nah, I'm just joking, man.
No, you're not.
Who knows?
No, you're not. No, you're not. No, I think both of those 2 points that you guys make are good, right? And they're something that need to be considered. Yeah, I just knew that it wasn't going anywhere, and it was like I think 1 or 2% were reporting, and it had already been declared done. I think some people were declaring it DOA.
Okay, so it was a no.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
They rejected it. Yeah, they rejected it big time.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
I'd be kind of interested to see something like the prison system that Norway has. Like, it's not like a prison, so to speak. It's more like a rehabilitation center.
Say
Like,
that one more time.
I'd be more interested to see like the prison system get replaced with like a system that Norway has. Like, they're not sitting in cells; they're sitting in like rooms and being treated like civil human beings instead of like torturous monsters.
Yep. And I think that's the essence of the legislation. Like, that's what they were trying to get. It's just that it's a tough sell in Ohio, which has turned as of late to be able to do pull something like that off. They're still,
A
I
bit
don't
of a
know.
way to go.
I think some people think of that as too lenient here.
I'm just very impressed that it made it to the ballot in the first place. That's it's pretty interesting that Ohio wouldn't be the state that would come to mind to be leading the charge in a thought process kind of along those lines.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that is interesting. And John, you said that it was written pretty comprehensively, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And what I didn't look up in my research was who was sponsoring it, who was behind it. I know that there were some progressive groups involved in that, but I also think that there were some legal and law enforcement groups, but the big law enforcement groups were definitely against it.
Well, of course, they're the ones making the money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
sure.
The last thing they want.
Right.
Last thing they want is you cutting their funds, and they're like, "Oh no, you're making this legal, and now we can't lock these people up and make more money off of them because of our industrial complex."
Any attempt to get rid of any type of mandatory minimum sentencing is going to go down.
Completely agree there.
The prisoners are bought and sold by the prisons themselves. If certain prisons entirely actually don't even let prisoners who are supposed to be out at that certain time leave because they're too profitable for them.
Mm-hmm. That's the only controversy in Ohio. Hey there.
Okay. Keep ignoring me, please.
Okay.
What's
it's been reported here that about 660,000 ballots will be in tonight's results, and that's the most ever election night results.
I messed up on a couple things.
Say that one more time.
About 660,000, I think I said, will be how many votes will be counted in tonight's results, and that's the most in this area.
That's cool.
Interesting.
Only thing I'm paying attention to is if we're gonna continue to have Governor Homo or someone new.
Governor Homo. That one's so easy.
It's probably gonna be Governor Homo, but
is he? He's already there, right? Is this his last term then?
I would assume. I'd hope so. I'm fed up with the guy.
How many can they do?
I think
do they have a limit?
I think 2, but I don't know.
That's how much I know. I know nothing. And it's not like on accident or anything.
What's going on in Kentucky, Pat? Anything?
Joe Manchin, the Democrat, is probably going to keep his Senate seat.
Yeah, that's over in West Virginia. But
oh yeah, I'm sorry, Patrick.
Yeah, but it does look like he's going to be lined up. I think they've already called that one.
They're probably going to resurrect Colonel Sanders and elect him. And
our big battle was the 6th district with Andy Barr and Amy McGrath, but it looks like Andy Barr is going to retain his seat with a slight margin, and everything else looks like it's going to be sticking red except for Louisville, which will retain John Yarmouth as their representative, the one Democratic stronghold in the state.
Looks like Kim Davis lost in Kentucky.
I haven't been following that one to see what would happen with her.
Yeah, looks like she's not going to make it.
Is that the lady I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
The election lady?
Wouldn't sign any marriages.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, she's not going to have the option anymore, it doesn't look like.
There you go.
oh. That's going to suck for her.
Yeah.
She'll have to find some other way to be obnoxious in the public eye.
We did have a constitutional amendment that was on our ballot, but I believe it's already been thrown away by the court. Yeah, the reading on it was pretty horrendous. I'll try to pull it up real quick.
Was it like more of a grassroots group trying to bring it up, or was there some money behind it?
To be honest, I'm not too sure. It was, I think it's called Marcy's Law. It's essentially victims' rights. But what blew me away is I would venture to say that there's probably a lot of money from the prison industry behind it, just because it makes it a lot easier to go back on any felons or anybody who was a perpetrator of a crime against someone. I'm trying to see if I can't find the wording for it, but it pretty much read on the ballot as
like retroactively punish.
No, just to take away, to give rights as in to the victims. And by that meaning, to be honest, I'm not versed on it enough to speak clearly on it.
Yeah, no, I get with those amendments. Yeah, I think I get what you're saying, and that's.
Yeah, what the hell is that called again? Where there's a certain amount of time that flies by that you can then not get charged on something. I forget. There's a phrase.
The statute of limitations?
Yeah, statute of limitations.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Is that, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Is that what it has to do with?
No, it's not so much that.
I'm trying to figure out what you mean by victims.
Yeah,
so
that's kind of.
I'll read it to you as soon as I can find the.
Oh yeah, take your time.
Find the link for it here. Which my wife did say inside my chat that she loves All Seeing You, so that's one positive to come from.
All right, there we go.
Well done.
Nice.
I hope Katie's advice for tomorrow comes through. For those that aren't aware, I'm on a blind date of sorts at a Guar concert.
Good.
Oh, what a sweet. That's
Congrats, man.
Yeah. You never really know how a lady's going to be until she gets sprayed with some green.
I've been told
out a giant cock.
to take the pig that they throw out into the audience and pour the blood over her.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You're one of us.
So, hey, guys.
Yes.
I just wandered over to my YouTube, and I noticed that 4 of my friends are all live right now. And
Nice.
yeah, and I think what I'm going to do is kind of pop over real quick and take a look at what they're yapping about, and
then get them to come over here.
Yeah, I'm gonna poach their audience.
Perfect.
Hey, yeah, we'll see you around.
And no, I'll be here. I'll be here.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
but,
cool.
and I'm still streaming and stuff. But
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm just gonna go.
She's gonna go over there and say bah.
Well, I'm a mod in all their channels, so I can just like start banning everybody in their YouTube chats.
Oh
They'll
my
have no
gosh.
choice. They'll all be like amped up and ready to chat, and they'll have no place to do it, so they'll have to come to my stream. No, I'm kidding. I'll be right back.
All right.
The Democrats have currently flipped 5 House seats.
Mhm.
Yep. CNN's calling the win for Ocasio-Cortez in New York.
Oh yeah, I
Sure.
saw that earlier.
Yep.
Well, you know, this is a blue
Youngest
state, so
What'd you say again?
this is a blue state. I'm not really
Exactly.
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah.
And the Republicans have picked up 1 Senate seat so far.
Any idea on if we're keeping Governor Homo?
I don't know. It's a good one. Let me go down to the governor's one. I'm looking at my live results from theguardian.com.
Okay. I'm just cruising Twitter.
We hope we get rid of Governor Homo.
Was it even a tightly contested race though? TJH? I mean, is it supposed to be close? Because it would have to be a very
Yeah, I didn't hear that it was.
it would have to be a very good candidate to turn that state. Let's see. Looks blue so far. Oh, Mark Molinaro currently has 18.6% of the vote, TJH. It looks like you're stuck with your governor for another 4 years.
Great.
He's already got the check mark next to him, and it's been called.
TJ, did you vote?
I voted for myself.
Now that-
wrote in.
That's confidence, baby. What was your platform?
Oh, I put myself as anarchist.
With 69.2% reporting, Mike DeWine is in the lead here, 52.3 to 44.8% in Ohio. With the Libertarian candidate getting 1.8% and the Green candidate getting 1.1%. Way to represent
Oh,
independence.
fuck it. I might even just run for president in 2020. I'd say, you know, I don't give a shit that there's an age
Are you
restriction.
gonna? Oh, I was gonna say. I'm not sure you'll be old enough to get on the ballot.
Well, you know, if these nuts could get on the fucking ballot, then, you know, I think I certainly can. Like, these nuts is younger than me. I'm almost 21.
I'm not going to write you in. I just want you to know that right now.
Don't even know what I'm going to go for yet, but
A couple of my. Oh, I don't think you can see that. Let me keep scrolling up. No.
I might even simultaneously run for mayor or even the governor. Or
I don't think you're allowed to do that.
Looks like the Democrats just picked up another spot in the House.
All right.
Oh,
so,
I'd probably say, oh yeah, hey New Hampshire, you want to do this free state thing? Well, I'm going to do better than you. I'm going to turn New York anarchist.
So Katie actually got me a little bit of information about Marcy's Law, and I also found how it was written on our ballot. So on the ballot, it's written as, are you in favor of providing constitutional rights to victims of crime, including the right to be treated fairly, with dignity and respect, and the right to be informed and to have a voice in the judicial process? Which back in October, a circuit court judge threw that out because of how poorly it's written. I mean, by reading that, who wouldn't say yes? It just reads to that. But Katie goes on to say that it's a law that gives victims the right to be represented by counsel of their choosing, rather than relying on the prosecutor, who has a legal obligation to represent the people of his or her jurisdiction and not the victim. The ACLU has also criticized Marcy's Law for undermining the due process, for being poorly drafted, and for being a threat to existing constitutional rights. The basis of the criticism is that equating victims' rights to the rights of the accused is a fallacy that ignores the very different purposes of the two sets of each rights we serve. It's not because defendants' rights are valued more by society than victims' right. Defendants' rights against the state apply only when the state is applying to deprive the accused, not the victim, of life, liberty, or property.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a little. Yeah.
This is what I mean, man. We've gotten everything is so. You have to really be a serious litigator. I don't know.
Well, I even asked to see when I was.
It's just like it's too much. It's too much.
Well, not only that, I asked if I could get a copy of the amendment at my local polling station just to inquire about it, and they had nothing there. So the only thing you could go by was what's on the ballot title. So if you didn't research it ahead of time, you're literally going off of the question of, are you in favor of constitutional rights to victims?
Right.
And then being treated fairly? Like, who wouldn't be?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
I did
Where
see that.
Oh, go ahead, John.
Oh no, you go ahead, because I'm going to look it up anyway. It was something about restoring voters' rights for felons in Florida. I think that passed, but I want to make sure.
Let's see.
Hi, everybody.
What's up, ESP
Hey.
Change?
What's
Hope
up?
you're doing okay. We're talking about politics.
Yeah, it's our
Shit.
special
And a couple
episode.
bits ago,
Are we
I might run for
crazy?
president because fuck it.
Yeah.
Yes, TJH is running for write-in president.
Of
Even-
the anarchist party.
Age restriction be damned.
I don't even think there is an anarchist party here in this country.
Would an anarchist really run for president?
Well, I mean, you have what's his name? The fucking guy that runs around with the boot on his head. He's an anarchist.
Well, but
I don't know if he really
don't
is.
equate yourself to him, dude.
That
Vermin
guy.
Supreme, baby.
That makes
Vermin
sense.
Supreme, that's it.
Yeah, Vermin Supreme. That's the guy's name. He is.
I love that guy.
That guy. That's my running mate. That's your running mate, huh?
His campaigns are to do a bunch of ridiculous bullshit to make fun of the political system.
So I'm going through some weird stuff, and I might have to like be in and out, kind of here and not here. It's okay.
Is it internet stuff or is it personal
it's home stuff?
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, that's
home
fine.
stuff.
Yeah,
I was a little
that's
bit
fine.
stressed
Because if it was
out.
internet stuff, he was gonna be like, man, fuck off. Come on.
Yeah, fucking internet stuff is nothing. People, what is it?
Oh,
Sartre
okay, yeah.
famously said, "Hell is other people."
And hell, if I can't get the write-in election, then fuck it. I'm also going to try and run for governor of New York and turn the damn state anarchist.
So, have we had any fun? Have I missed anything? Did you guys learn stuff?
He learned a bit.
We went over the highlight of like controversial issues or big issues for each state so far.
Right.
And then we're really trying to get TJH to start with maybe a small group of people in his area to become anarchists rather than just trying to convince the entire state of New York. But so far we've been unsuccessful.
Baby steps, man. Come on.
Well, I mean, I could band together the entire NYHC community. And
I don't
Well,
know
I
what
gotta
community
ask.
that is.
I gotta ask. I
New
just
York
got
hardcore.
here. Go ahead.
Gotcha. Go ahead.
Do you tend to lean liberal when it comes to politics, or do you tend to lean conservative, or did you sign up independent? I'm just curious about you guys because I don't even think that's fair. I wish it weren't like that, but I know that we all, generally you have to, when you go register to vote, choose one of those categories. The other thing is obvious. The question: how do you feel about our president, the office, the person?
Just another political parasite.
And that's before we try and unpack what the country's going through. Anyone,
Well, I personally, Democrats, I mean, obviously we all know parties changed. If anyone's familiar with the history of the party system here,
Right.
it's totally flipped. And, I am on the left but I also am what a Democrat would be, a couple of decades ago. I'm more of maybe like a JFK kind of Democrat, whereas that
Okay.
would be not a Democrat today.
Right.
So I'm kind of, I'm a person without a party, I would say,
Right.
at this point. But I actually, instead of not participating in the two-party system that I hate and I don't think it's working for us, I feel like you have to. And
Sure.
so that's kind of what I do. I play that. So like last year, I voted green simply for the fact that I'm in a blue state and knew that I could afford to not go blue, and it wouldn't. Washington wasn't going to go purple, right?
Right.
We weren't going to go red at all, especially on the west side of the state. So I figured it was kind of just what's the best use of my vote. I
Sure.
didn't really need to use it for anything except for that. In that case, I hated I can't even remember the candidate, but she was horrible.
Gotcha.
But
Hillary?
no, Jill Stein.
Jill Stein.
Not a
Right.
fan. But
Washington State.
yeah. But so I just I'm an ideas person, and
Right.
all this SJ bullshit has been adopted by people who call themselves Democrats, and that chases me away from the Democrats.
I get you.
Dave Rubin is a real popular guy that's kind of middle road, and he was calling for the idea like, hey, maybe the best thing for the leftists in this country is for the Democrats to get dismantled tonight.
Sure.
Because part of me, and I agree with him, because part of me seems like, oh man, if they do really good tonight, would we be really surprised if they ran Hillary again? And then guess what's going to happen? She'll lose again.
Yeah.
And I don't think I don't know. So it's like, to me, it's how broke does the Democrats, need to feel, how defeated before
Sure.
they really let someone like Ocasio-Cortez.
Well, I
somebody
can tell you
do
just from my perception of being in a state full of these types of people that they don't want Hillary.
Well, no, I mean,
that's my point. That's what I'm saying.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one did.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and they'll just say, what do they say? Oh, well, we actually won the popular vote. And if everyone just gets out like they did in the midterms, we'll be able to win, right? And then guess what? If Devin Wasserman Schultz or someone else that's, crooked gets in as the convention head, then, we could have the same thing. We could have someone that's really great, maybe not a Bernie, someone that's not going to go as far left and scare people from that side, but maybe someone a little, I don't know. I don't freaking know. But
Well, and the reason I chose to approach it this way is the other possibility is you go into a room with a group of people and you're not sure what the sort of overall culture is. And that's even more scary because, to have a message, and I might have mentioned this, to have opinions is to stick your neck out, and to stick your neck out might mean, so I'd rather just, let's just put it on the table. If we're here to talk about politics, I mean, it seemed like a sensible place to start.
Absolutely.
Like you said, rather than walking away and going, I would consider myself a Democrat 3 decades ago, so I ain't fucking with this mess. You've decided, hey, I have to do it, and that's kind of the way I chose to approach this conversation. We're gonna
but it's interesting.
Yeah.
You got I know there's a race. Sorry, John, were you gonna get into something?
I was, but that's fine. You go ahead.
All right. Well, I was just saying real quick. I know there was a race down. I think it was in Arizona where the Democrat who's trying to win, they're an incumbent, but the state itself won Trump big. So that's not your regular Democrat down there. If you listen to her talk, she's hard on immigration, or she's at least the immigrant. She's on immigration like JFK would be from that era.
Right.
So I mean, they're out there, and but they're not embraced by their party as the norm, right? And so that, I guess that's the problem. But that's also where they have potential to grow into a party that is accepted in going into the future by future voters.
Right. Yeah, and these are strange times, and we have strange candidates. What would seem unlikely candidates, but boy, technology has changed quickly in the last. Well, it moves fast. What do I start with? The last 20 years? I start with the last 5 years? I mean, technology moves quickly, and
but still, all these polling station machine problems.
What's that?
I said, but we still can't figure out this polling machine thing because we're not using smart contracts. So
sure, let's hack some more Diebold. That did us really well, didn't it?
Well, I mean, if if we're worried about, and I just now thought about this, but wouldn't that be a potential solution? It's
Perfect for blockchain.
someone that's smarter, just like we're worried about online being so hackable, and so we're all doing paper ballots still, mail-in ballots and shit. But it seems like there'd be something there with blockchain technology.
Well, there's
Liquid
Shire.
democracy.
Have you heard of Shire on security? He's probably one of maybe the foremost security guys, and I think it's spelled SCHIER.
Okay.
And he has something to say about everything. He particularly had a lot to say when the FBI complained about going dark. And his deal is we need to go to paper ballots. And, that's the interesting thing. But I think that was enough years ago that blockchain hadn't caught on as a buzzword even in the sort of popular media. And now that's where we are. I wish there were more to it as far as the information that you hear in the popular media and as far as most people's understanding, but we're not quite there yet. For most people, it seems a buzzword. But I think voting and when you consider the hackability, the blockchain is perfect for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I mean, we all know I'm probably the biggest advocate for crypto advancement, but I would be slightly nervous for blockchain in its current stage to be used for voting, mainly for disenfranchisement. I feel there's a lot of people that would be unable to vote because they wouldn't fully be able to grasp all of the concepts needed to secure their keys on how to vote or different things along those lines.
And
So I like.
Go ahead.
I think that's interesting because I'm I guess the opposite of what you think. I think we need to head towards something like that, and not in terms of people being in charge of their own keys. We could have these kiosks that are powered by distributed ledger tech and blockchain. The issue I think that we're having right now is the identity problem, and integrating that with blockchain is we don't have a solution for that yet.
Right.
And even with the tech being as slow as it is, I don't think voting would be an issue. Because it doesn't need to be fast. We don't need to do microtransactions or micro voting or anything like that. It's that identity piece that we're missing right now.
Right. Well, I mean, speaking of tech wise, Georgia passed that like 100% thing where you had to be like almost double verified to vote. And one of the guys who was running for governor, the main one who is going against the lady, couldn't get in with his ID. He had to like fix it and like get a different one because it didn't match perfectly. So you still have instances where states are putting these types of things in and the tech still isn't there.
Wait a minute.
There
was somebody trying. There was a candidate and he couldn't get into the voting place because of his ID.
Because of the restrictive laws that they had passed for the state, the restrictive voter ID laws. He went and it's like either his license didn't match and he had to go back and get his passport or something like that, where the actual candidate had trouble voting with the new update to that law. So he had to like go and figure it out. He eventually was able to cast his ballot.
Well, it's too bad for him. He didn't have like a birth certificate from Hawaii, because like that's good enough to be president.
Right. So here's the thing is as I was saying that, and sometimes I do this, though typically I'm eloquent enough where it doesn't happen, but sometimes I do this because sometimes I have to hear what I'm saying before I could process what it is that I'm thinking about. But as I was saying that, I was like, these words don't even ring true to me. And I got to go with Patrick Ulrich on this one. We're not there yet. It was more wishful thinking. Fucking this band Wilco has a line in one of their songs, "All my lies are always wishes," and I think that's really what that was. As I was saying it, I knew that that was a bullshit line, and it was for the very reason that you voiced. Right after that is we're not there yet, and then Gone Rogue gets to I'm hopeful at some point. But again, it gets back to identity. But then we swung back to this thing where the guy's talking about the old-fashioned way and the typical paradigm in its present state, which is redundant, and how, okay, so here's the ID law that comes along, and yet your ID is not good enough. Are we going to play loose and easy with this stuff, or are we not? You know, I mean, if I have to go with the yes, no, or maybe, now that I give it some more thought, some real thought, we're not there yet. I'm with Bruce Shire on this one. Probably we should stick to paper ballots for a while, but blockchain is the thing that holds the promise going forward. And probably also the threat, you know, for those people that want to be voted in loose and easy. If we get identity ironed out a bit more and we get a blockchain system that's effective enough, then some people that have ever benefited from the loose and easy, they might not like that.
And I'm sure that you can use things like, I'm sure that you can use the blockchain if you have the voter ID as the KYC. You can do it to, oh man, it was there in my brain, and then it
No,
left.
it's not.
Welcome to Steeming Pile.
While I've got
Fudge.
John on a spin out moment. Okay, so I just came from YouTube. I visited 3 channels.
What's going on over there?
RKTNN News Network. He's awesome. It's Randall. He's been, well, I won't do a commercial here, but he
Hi, I'll see you here for.
I know, I'm man on the street. I've got the I'm coming back with the journalism. So I went to RKTNN, quite frankly, and Styx Hex and Hammer. And all 3 of them were talking about the minutia of what just happened, like where we are in the results and what the polls are saying, and they were all talking about the exact same thing. And it's like, guys, I don't really think votes matter. I don't. That's why I don't vote.
I'm with you, all saying you. I'm with
Damn
you.
it.
And so it's hard for me to watch my friends.
Myself.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's just hard for me to watch my friends on nights like this because that's what their whole show is about.
Right.
And I much prefer this conversation where we're talking about, well, what if we were to use the blockchain instead of, you know, a passport?
Yeah. See, I agree with the blockchain part. I don't know that I necessarily agree with the I don't know that votes matter. I think votes matter big time, and I think that we have a participation problem in the country. I mean, I think people choosing not to partake, even if it is not, I mean, I don't care. Like, so I'll answer your questions, ESP, just as a matter of this discussion is,
Please.
I blindly voted Democrat for a long time, and then I really followed Ralph Nader and read a lot of what he was talking about and liked what he has to say with workers and with the way the financial industry and big business has kind of taken over things. And that was early in 2000 when I started reading that. And so then it opened up that I shouldn't be as blindly stupid following a party. And so I really do try to do my due diligence and my research. I honestly care more about issues. I think that everybody should openly self-identify. I think candidates should also be able to, if they're a big R, put a small I or a small D next to their name, or if they're a big D, put a small I or R or even an A next to their name. But stand for something and vote. Like, I think people that don't, I think people that don't are the bigger issue, because that's how you get people that are just corporate gobs that take money and stay in power for 16 years, and it's complete bullshit.
Well, and my thinking on this comes from, the question is, are we at the tipping point? Are we near the tipping point? Which means civic engagement is what you want if you're near the tipping point. Or, as a lot of people have arrived at, Russell Brand and that group, it's like, we're past the tipping point, fuck it anyway. I mean,
that's,
so
yeah,
really,
right.
Isn't that kind of the, right?
That is the bigger question. And my thing is, I don't think we are. I think we can be, but when you have a lack of participation and a lack of connectedness, then it's hard to have that.
Well,
Yeah,
and
but when do we find out? Like, where do you draw that line?
and
We had
go ahead.
massive turnout, massive participation in the 2016 primaries and election, and a lot of people got screwed, dude. A lot of people got screwed. Like, the election was fraudulent, and I think a lot of people who were really paying attention to what was going on, which includes, you know, at least three people on this stream, were closely paying attention to that shit, and there was massive I don't know what the hell you would call it, but fraudulent ways that the election result panned
Well,
out to.
from my looking at
A lot of people voted for Bernie Sanders, and then he got fucked over. And
He didn't get fucked over. They bought him a fucking house. He didn't get fucked over. He was
Well,
No,
he was hired for that job.
he got fucked.
he got screwed out of the nomination, and then when you get past the nomination, you look what happened. And I initially had thought it was the faithless electorate who, you know, those are the ones that you worry about because they don't have to, as far as the electoral college, they don't have to vote with a certain party affiliation. And I was afraid that a lot of them got tied along Republican Party lines, which is why Trump won the electoral college, the electoral vote, but not the popular vote. But as it turns out, I looked into it more, and what it was enough of the people voting for Bernie Sanders that pulled away from the Democrats. That probably is what caused Trump to win. But it all just seems so fucking rigged. It's like we've got to come up with a better system. We got to come up with a better system because
democracy.
Right. Well, but it's not a proportional representative democracy, you know. And I probably mentioned that.
And I agree with that. And now we have, you know, although I agree to some extent that participating in some kind of outcome is probably good. It you know, from a philosophical perspective, when you participate in something, contribute to something, you're participating just in some kind of outcome. Although, at least in political terms, it's gotten polarized where it's not even about issues. It's like tribalism at its best.
Yes.
And where does that go? Where does that get anybody? We get nowhere. I mean, how many ballot measures or people are actually different than your typical, you know, political figure? Or how many ballot measures are out there that are actually grassroots? Probably very few, and that's an issue.
Right.
Huge.
I'd like to ask you guys, am I the only conspiracy theorist here?
No.
Am I the only
certainly
one
not.
Am I the only one that's
Certainly
Hi, I know.
Hi.
Where is he?
Hi.
Am I the only one that's been watching YouTube for the last 5 years?
I'm not big on conspiracy theories, but go ahead.
I don't have a point to make. I'm just trying to find out if I'm the only one.
Was JFK shady and the government had something to do with it? Maybe. It's definitely weird, but he went to the moon.
Right.
Oh no! Let's not do that.
Is round. The Earth is round. That kind of
I'll host.
It's not provable by science.
I'll host a stream some night where we do like conspiracy shit. I was just trying to find out if I'm the only one sitting back, like laughing, going, "This is all bullshit."
Well, and that's And
are you gonna call up Jesse Ventura?
I'm not calling anybody out. Oh, but speaking of calling, how about a shout out? I just got upvoted by Bernie Sanders.
No.
And 3 bots.
Right.
No.
That's awesome, man.
Bernie plus 3. All right.
Last we heard, you guys hated each other.
Tell Bernie to get his ass.
Each other.
Tell Bernie to get over.
No. Nobody hates anybody.
Okay.
I'm not in this fight.
Sorry. I didn't want to start a conspiracy.
I was just a casualty in some other man's war.
Dude,
Dude,
it is a conspiracy.
Dude.
That's exactly what someone that was part of the Illuminati would say. Oh, no, I ain't got it.
You're over here claiming conspiracy theorists. You have Bernie Sanders voting on your page.
Yeah.
Okay,
Suspicious.
all right. Now I see
mean,
what's going on.
My avatar is a sheep with Illuminati glasses.
I'm waiting on little
In that video
aliens.
Bernie Sanders said that he's honored to watch your live streams.
He did say that he had to be,
Really?
in watching my live streams. That's right. In that video that I made about him.
Bernie Sanders, you can jump on the pile whenever you'd like.
Ooh.
Make us- I would love that. I
You
would
don't
love
even-
for any of those important whales to come participate here. I would really, I would love that. That'd be
You don't have to turn on your camera.
No, he wouldn't.
all of them.
Yeah, and if you have one of those little voice changer things, you can use that. I think it should come on okay.
So yeah, I would watch the All Seeing You. I would watch the live thing about your various ideas of conspiracies. Because
No,
when
you
say-
wouldn't watch it. You'd have to be in it.
Well, that'd be.
Oh,
cool.
he'd be in
That'd
it.
cool. But until you flesh out what you mean by conspiracy, then we're
Yeah. Nowadays, that's just a whole.
9/11 was an inside job.
Right.
Oh,
It
9/11
was.
was certainly an inside job.
Most
The
certainly.
Pentagon thing was like, what the hell? That's impossible. But anyway,
And we've not had an elected head of state for about 40 years, and they've been selected by the Saudi Arabian government, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Saudi
Hey, I thought we
That's why-
weren't
that's
gonna
why
go
I
down
don't
that
vote.
road. What
I
the
don't-
fuck? Stop saying these things.
I don't vote because of that, and also because I'm like a sort of a newbie anarchist. I don't really see the point of choosing between Marvin the Martian and Dr. Frankenstein to run the country. I don't want anybody in charge of me. I think I can do a fine job
Well, somebody's
policing
gonna be.
myself.
Right.
You know-
So
you know,
that's the good point. Someone is
and I-
going to be.
Someone's gonna be in charge of you, though.
Well,
I
I'm not
wonder-
taking it hard.
I wonder if there's a
This is-
fine
this is
line
why you
between
exercise resistance.
right. I
Whatever.
wonder if there's a fine line between giving up, it doesn't matter, I'm not going to participate, and if that's legit, then that's the best choice. And you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. In other words, things are going to play out as they will anyway. You
Like
know,
voting's an act of futility, and stuff.
exactly, it's an act of
I
futility.
get that. I
Right.
get that.
And that
It's
may
like
be
I'm
the
not gonna let them
case.
take it away from me. That's kind of the
Oh,
way I look.
And,
I just-
and that may be
yeah.
the case, but the problem is either one of those options means we're doomed because
Right.
the stakes are too high and there's too much shit going on. Either one of those options means we're doomed.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
You know?
if there's no plan to change the current state,
If things don't change, we can't do this.
right? Because
Yeah, but we're not going to
here's what I don't
change by
get.
taking part in their system.
Yes.
there's-
Well, no.
No.
Or no.
You change things by taking part in democracy.
See, and I
Taking part in the blockchain.
You change things by revolting.
I tend to think we, to at
Against
least
what?
some extent, we have to partake in their game in order to change it. That's how I feel.
But
Yeah,
can't
and
we-
that's kind of where I'm at. That's why I went out and voted. I mean, it's like I have to participate to a certain extent anyway, so I might as well do it in a way where I feel slightly conscientious, even if it's hope against hope. You know, I'm hoping that maybe this is somehow going to matter.
Right. Well, was
right.
2016 hopeless because I mean, to me, the fix, an easy fix is open primaries. Once you make it to where the election commission only allows Republicans and Democrats to have their people on the ballot, then
Right.
you block things right away. So you have open primaries, you don't make people choose, and you let anybody run that wants to run. And honestly, once that's done, then it's just a matter of people putting out platforms that they can get other people to vote on.
Isn't this interesting, though? Because what you just explained there doesn't fit neatly in a soundbite. You never hear about it in the media, which is still what most people watch, especially older generations. And isn't this interesting in that you had mentioned the word futility earlier, Patrick? Or I'm sorry, Sean. And, you know, that to me is the real futility. The real futility is that the main issues never get talked about. Immigration, I wouldn't even put immigration one of the U.S.'s top 10 issues.
It's not a massive issue.
I-
Not at all.
I wouldn't even put it in the fucking top 10. Healthcare,
Absolutely
certainly.
not.
You know what I'm talking about? Change the way we elect officials? Certainly. Maybe change party systems or the The fact that we're so entrenched in two parties, make it so that we can have multiple parties.
Yes, that is the point of decentralization. Yes, decentralized ideas, right?
Right. So I wouldn't even put immigration in the top 10 issues. We keep getting to these hot button issues. And here's the interesting thing about the hot button issues. Your modern congressional Republican or your modern congressional Democrat, however they come out on that, it doesn't endanger their job. They don't make less money. They haven't caught the attention of the powers that be that start, picking them off.
Well, and not only that, you can tell how they're going to come out on an issue based on the amount of donations and who is contributing to their campaigns, and that's
Bingo.
across the aisle.
Bingo. But when you get to the big issues, their jobs are in danger, and they do make less money, right? They aren't as able to line their pockets, and they do catch the attention of the powers that be. And by that, I mean the financiers, the bankers, the big business interests.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you can tell right away if it's a real issue versus a bullshit hot button issue. Is the one that endangers your job and doesn't make you profit? That's probably a real issue.
Oh yeah, and we'll go back to this one also. But getting campaign finance reform, getting cash out of politics,
huge.
I mean, that'll incredibly change the way our politics looks. Yeah.
We never talk about this though.
But how can you do such a thing? I mean, isn't money just an expression of speech in itself?
Well, and that's interesting. According to Citizens United,
Right.
Yeah.
I know libertarians lean towards that. I know. Right. Gary Johnson mentioned it too. Although when you have a massive entity or an individual, a person, a corporatehood who has a lot more access to funds than you do, you could easily pull legislation in your favor. That's the problem.
Well, as long as you have power to sell, it's going to be sold. There's nothing you can do to change that.
Nonsense.
Nothing you can do.
How often do corporations and institutions fit your agenda or an individual's agenda or a citizen's
very little?
This is where hopefully a nation state that is supposedly a democracy would arrive at the idea that you have to temper this age-old problem where in a pure democracy, it's one person, one vote, and in capitalism, it's $1, one vote. And those two things are always going at each other, and this is why you need a reasonable approach in terms of the nation state. That's what gets you good regulation or effective regulation. Unfortunately, what that means, when you start talking about regulation, what you mean is these fucking monolithic, horrible. I said monolithic again. Ding, ding, ding. These ding, horrible. Ding, drink. Everybody drink. Bureaucracies that themselves are corrupt. Right. So, but yeah,
I think you hit a really fine point for me, though, is that even with money involved in politics, it's still one vote for one person. The dollar's not voting. It's up to the people to make the decision to vote aligning to their interests.
You have leverage, though. The power of media is incredible. You have leverage when you have more cash, you have more time on TV, you have more advertisement access, you have more action in front of people, and unfortunately that's how we consume content and data nowadays. Is we're told how to fucking vote, man. Nobody does their own fucking research. That's a problem.
Well, and democracy is okay. I don't want to say it's inherently at odds with capitalism, but it's typically at odds with capitalism because they do use their monetary influence, or they do use their monies to buy influence and to buy power and to consolidate. And you see what happens as a result of that. You move more towards a plutocracy and further away from a representative democracy. They don't have to be at odds. They're not inherently at odds, but they're typically at odds because that's the way people are. I'm Mr. Big Shot. I got more power than you do, yo. Because my wallet's nicer. I have a better wallet than you.
Well, that's ultimately why we should probably work towards something like Paracon or post scarcity, so we don't have to worry about that type of shit.
Right.
So you don't. Yeah. I mean, just from Pat, from your perspective, you don't think cash has any kind of influence in politics at all?
Oh, it definitely has influence, but at the same time, it's not the final say. Dollars don't actually vote. It's up to the people to make the vote. So I think the root issue here is the lack of engagement for the population to actually vote knowingly. I mean, we're so worried about getting out the vote, but we're not actually worried about getting people to become educated in their voting.
It goes back to my conversation about having a lack of civics curriculum in high school anymore. We don't even know how to talk to each other. I know it's not.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we wonder why we're so disconnected and divided.
Home ec, arts, music, anything that would make a person balanced in society is gone. It's all
replaced with all this unnecessary bullshit like this
Common Core math and shit. Yeah.
Like, why the fuck do I need to know this complicated mathematical bullshit if I'm going into the real world? Like, am I going to go be some like crazy fucking scientist where I need to know this shit? No.
Well, and maybe that's the deal. Is real progress in humanism depends upon individuals and education and ideals like fucking liberty, whereas capitalism, it's in their interest to turn you into a drone and set you to that wheel over there. And,
well, of course, you know, it's in their best interest to send you to school, which at this point, indoctrination center.
The alternative to capitalism doesn't turn you into a drone?
Well, there would probably be something better.
If the alternative is socialism, you're right. Then that has its problems.
Ism is a drone. Ism is a drone.
But freedom is not. You know, freedom is not. And
what you guys are advocating for, as far as more of a centrally controlled government, is what you're getting.
Yeah.
Or okay. Let me back up. Let me back up. Let me back up just a second.
Yeah.
What's being advocated for of changing schooling, doing it different, is still a central control. I'm for bottom up, not top down. I kind of feel like most of us may agree with that, though, right? Like from a bottom up.
Right.
I don't think
grassroots,
you're going to change.
Absolutely.
You're going to go bottom up by participating in this stuff, and that's just my opinion. But what's really important to me, we talk about freedom and liberty, is having the ability for communities to control the schooling rather than a top down. There's nobody in Washington that knows my pocketbook better than me. There's nobody in Washington that knows my community better than my community. So I don't advocate for top down rules to change all these things and make things happen. So that's when we start talking about like the bird's eye view of this stuff, I have a really hard time saying, agreeing with anything. Oh, we should do this. Okay, we should be allowed to have the option to do that. We should be allowed more options within our community.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we should ultimately be sending the children to Sudbury schools, which is, if you're not aware of what that is, it's basically a different type of schooling system that doesn't follow a national curriculum. Like the kids choose what they want to learn and what they want to actually go towards for their own actual life, instead of being forced to follow these set guidelines by some person they don't even know, or to try and match some country they don't care about. Or
a point I meant to make was the fact that schooling itself, the way it's set up, is to become, like you said, I will agree with you that schooling in its present way that it's handled does turn us into drones, and we're cogs in a wheel. And so when a big let me paint with a broad brush. When the left wants to increase funding without the reform, I can't support that, because all you're doing is creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of the same people that rag on capitalism are the same people that want to fund the puzzle pieces for that capitalism, which they despise.
True that.
I just don't think that.
That's all school is. It's just training for call and response. They just want you to learn crap by rote. They want all the kids, as many of them as possible, medicated, so that anybody that's like just a little bit smarter than the teachers or has an independent mind,
I can
ISP medication, fuck those kids up. They don't want you to be able to think around corners.
But I think it's important what Eric said, and I couldn't agree more. And I think I mentioned it in a stream, maybe a couple of streams ago, and we joked about it. But each state forking off of the federal government. From there, each state would then, each local community would be, would take care of their own issues locally. That's huge, and I couldn't agree more with a more bottom-up approach, by taking a community approach to it. Because you're right. I mean, who knows the community more than the people in the fucking community?
Well, when you have more communities trying out different things, you can form a best practices of what works.
I was going to say that
Absolutely.
can be,
Exactly.
like I said, this all goes back down to a participation issue. And I agree with what Eric said about bottom up ideas and things like that, guys. But no one on here is a fucking drone. There is no they. At any point, all politics is local. At any point, if anyone wants to do anything that they think might be different or help, all they have to do is run for office, find someone to write some legislation with, and get something passed in their community. That's it. And yes, we're talking about the federal government, and you know what? Maybe there is corruption at the federal government. Maybe there are conspiracy theories. Maybe there are politicians on both sides of the aisle that get money for their campaigns from greased lobbyists. All that is true. But no, school is what school is. It's a reflection of what we vote for and what we put in. School has been unconstitutional here in Ohio because it goes on landowners as opposed to funding it through the population, and it really does all come down to money. Now, does that mean that money should be taken out of it? No, but everything is local. So like that girl who just won in New York, the progressive who just won in New York. I mean, you take a race, you choose to put yourself in there, and you run on your ideas, and you get stuff going. It doesn't have to be at the federal level. It can be at the state or local level. It's just that, we think that there's this grandiose scheme going on, when really it's just us not being connected enough to make whole decisions.
And I would like to touch on what Alcy and you said, because, like I said, I can confirm that what she said is actually true. Because from my experience of being in the public school system, when I was first going there, they actually caught on to me being more intelligent than them, and starting to deem me as a threat to their entire indoctrination system. So then what they do is they take you and they throw you into special programming where they try to drug you up. And luckily I've never had any drugs shoved down my throat. My parents wouldn't do that to me. But
you're just a couple of years younger than my son. And so you guys were going to school about the same time. And the two of you probably would have been really good friends. Like I said, that you and I would have been really good friends if we were in school together. And that's why I love you so. But whenever I hear you talking about your experience with it, I'm like, yeah, I know. So, I mean, it was the same story with him. Like, he wasn't a bad kid. He wasn't a bad kid, but he was always in trouble because he was like, okay, I hear you telling me no, but why? Why no? And they were like, okay, you're a problem. I spent so much time in the principal's office telling them, no, I will not drug my child,
Isn't it part that, the way the school system's set up, we can't handle individuals.
No.
has to be groupthink. So
Right.
I'm bringing this up just because I don't know if it's so much
Yes,
like,
I was agreeing. I'm
they're
agreeing.
too smart. Yeah. It's not that they're like, you're too smart for the class or anything like that. I think it's a certain type of smart. I love Tom Hartman's take on it, where he says there's hunters and there's farmers. Some of us that maybe have been prescribed with ADHD, like me and my kids have, I'm passing it on to them. And that's had all sorts of problems in school for me and them. And we've had to make all sorts of, family discussions and decisions. But to me, it's like, it's different. I think there's kids with ADD that aren't smart, just like there's kids without it that aren't smart. And then there's kids that are and aren't, just like, on a spectrum, there's, all sorts of, brilliant minds that aren't, necessarily normal, as we would say it.
For the most part, these diseases are complete bullshit.
Well, I don't know that I agree with that, but anyways, but basically just the idea that, I don't know if it's more funding or just a different way of doing the public school system. But yeah, I definitely think that part of it's just the idea that, we don't have particular classes. Like, I'm lucky enough that I live in a district where there are actually special classes where, like, if your kid's like hyperactive and not super good at math, like they have ones that take a little bit of a back seat on the math, and they do a little more individualistic, classes and teaching. But to me, it's like, I'm just lucky that I live in a district where they're able to get a little bit more money. Believe me, I pay for it in rent. And so it's just, there's always a give and take, I guess. So.
Can I ask really quickly, who else is streaming? I know that Eric, Patrick, Sean, you are?
Yeah.
Is
am.
gone? John, I got you. Anybody else? Is Narashi or Gone Rogue or
No, they're
TJ?
not streaming tonight.
Okay, I'll
No,
go.
I don't have the Zoom client on my computer. I have it on my phone.
I'll go get Sean right now.
So it looks like Michigan is going to be legalizing recreational marijuana.
Good for them. Good for them. There's a toke for that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have permission now? Oh.
I don't need permission.
Yeah, I have a tripod.
But, most people be like, hey, that's good. But, I know somebody with a sulfate allergy, and they can't smoke any commercial weed in Colorado because they dump sulfate on all the commercially grown weed. And I just heard that somebody's planning on growing a 250 acre weed farm about an hour away. And I have a feeling they're not going to do it organically. So, I mean,
what does
for me,
sulfate their weed mean?
It's a type of pesticide or fungicide or insecticide or something that they put on the plants.
So do you think like the growing farms here should be regulated to do that?
No, I don't think it's regulation that allowed them to put the sulfate on. Like they're pretty much required to. So I mean, that's the government helping you, by the way.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
So.
Interesting.
Thanks.
So they can't go to market with it unless they're using it.
Unless they go through that process of what the government tells them they can do it.
It's probably supplied by good old Monsanto.
Well, we know who's funding it. We know it's in our area. It's a lot of the alcohol money is going into it. They put the money into stopping the bill, and then once they realized it was going to pass, then they started investing that money in there. They have a business requirement to where you have to pay, I believe, at least $5,000 to even have the right to grow it commercially. There's some loopholes that people are finding with a micro business, such as like a small micro brewery kind of thing, to where they're doing that with weed. But it's definitely, the bill is definitely set to price out the small growers out of the market. And I know personally a bunch of caregivers, medical marijuana growers that are just saying, "Oh, I'll just buy it commercially. I'll just buy it commercial. I'm not even going to grow anymore." So a lot of people are saying, "Oh, I'm gonna be able to have a couple plants in my backyard." I haven't looked into enough to even know if that's going to be a possibility. But from my understanding, it's just going to seem to be that it's going to be so much cheaper and easier just to buy it at the 50 local stores now. So as far as me, it's not going to change my habits. I'm going to do the same thing. And, you know, it doesn't change me in one iota.
Why did Michigan do that? Like, what was the kind of impetus for the bill?
Well, they attempted to do it 2 years ago, I believe. But what happened was they threw the numbers away. They didn't allow the petition to go through because they said it didn't qualify. One of the things they cited was there's numerous multiple signatures on it. I know at the local dispensary I went to, they'd have you could sign the petition right there at the dispensary. Another one I went to on the other side in another county had the same petition signed. So I have to imagine somebody might have been signing it every time they went in there. People may have been signing it from, in multiple counties. From my understanding, though, from what I read, they did everything legit and they did everything by the book. And even if they would have threw out half the signatures, that was still enough and it qualified. I know, 2 years ago, Ohio struck the bill down because it was seed to sale to where everything had to be tracked. And it's like, you're talking about having people writing bills that don't even know how weed works. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You're doing most people don't even use seeds anymore. They get a mother plant and they make clones off of that. How are you going to track that? You're going to put an RFID chip in it? Like, come on.
That's why it didn't pass.
So and then it also required every bit that you had to sell had to be tested at like a really ridiculously high. Well, guess who owns the testing facilities? You know what I mean? It's lobbyists that put that in there, and it just comes down to they have the power to do that. They're not going to give up power. They may let you think they're giving up power, but just like how Canada allows roadside drug testing now because weed's legal. Yay, weed's legal. They added more bills than they took away. You guys realize that, right? They're not giving up power. They're not giving up revenue. Recently, somebody got arrested, or they've been tried for manslaughter because they had weed in the system. The person smoked 12 hours before that, and they attached the cannabis use to the reason for the accident. They hit somebody on a bike or something of that nature. They literally even said the person didn't smoke for 12 hours, and they still charged them with that as drug driving. It's just they're.
That's why federally, it needs to be completely legalized. Like we shouldn't even look at it as a problem, right? And then once we do, there is an issue or is something that needs to be regulated. But when you do that, then nobody can step in and try and regulate it or try and start whatever kind of business to things.
I advocate for decriminalization, not legalization. There's been a bunch of ads on the radio about paid for by the commission to make weed, regulate weed like alcohol. It's like
legalization would remove it from the Controlled Substance Act, and it wouldn't even be an issue. Not an issue, just like any other.
Or even just remove it from being a Schedule 1.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
it doesn't even belong there.
Not even treat it like it's tobacco. Okay, treat it like it's a fly trap, man. Okay, anybody can fucking buy it. Anybody can grow it. Anybody can use it. Anybody can
treat it like it's just a fucking plant, like it is.
There's got to be a regulation on Venus flytraps that we can find in some obscure state.
There's areas of there's species of it that are endangered.
Okay, buffalo fucking bluegrass.
I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that, but I swear that.
What about Kentucky bluegrass?
We could rebrand the Venus flytrap as a Republican plant because we could prove.
It is.
We could prove that it only eats Democrats.
And it has predatory nature.
Yes.
I've gotten bit by one.
That's not how that works.
Now, let's just take for a second.
We won't tell them that. Sorry. Okay, I'm shutting.
Let's just take the drug issue out of it. Why is hemp illegal?
Right.
Exactly.
The same reason. It's an archaic law that was protectionism. It protected markets.
Well, because there's
candle makers were against electric light bulbs too. And I'm sure the candle maker lobby was hard at work trying to make sure that people didn't burn their house down with light bulbs. You know, even though candles were the main reason for fires.
Oh, dude. Hey, man, when AC first came out, alternating current first came out, there was literally propaganda campaign.
Yeah, it could kill an elephant, right?
Leaks out of the fucking of holes of the wall. It leaks out, and you can fucking, you know, it'll kill you. Blah blah blah. This thing is fucking insane.
All I want is an incandescent light bulb. That's all I fucking want. Okay.
Let's add
I don't
more
like LED.
Like
I'm
is
being forced to
renewable
buy
energy.
LED.
We'll save the planet by adding mercury to the watershed, right? That's what we should do. Because who recycles those bulbs? Real quick, I'm Paulius says code of regulation for Colorado for marijuana is fucked. It's not only sulfate, Eric, but thanks for mentioning this. Fucking important. Not a lot of people know. Many just look blindly as it's just marijuana. It's just marijuana legalization. I'm assuming my chat kind of cut off of it. So
I'm jealous you have people in your chat that talk to you aside from things about like farts, because the only person in my chat that ever shows up with any consistency is TJH over here. And
I think he has multiple screens for every stream.
I think he's watching all of us. The chat for everybody.
He's building up those points.
I don't think he's. Are you watching all the streams, or are you just like popping out the chats?
I make my rounds.
I
do have the power of my computer to open like 5 different windows at once.
That's nice.
I gather you guys were talking about the absurdity of the war on drugs and why in particular is weed illegal. And then John got bit by a Venus flytrap.
He didn't. He made that up on the fly.
You
waka,
think?
Waka, 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 waka.
Keep on walking.
I don't know, man. I was thinking about our discussion about politics. It just sounds like a bunch of people getting high because, you know, here's the thing.
Where's your fritter?
I didn't get a fritter. I went and talked to a housemate and it was yucky. It caused me much anxiety and I'm back. Thank God.
Well, we're glad you're back.
But one of the other housemates left a Hostess glow cake on the counter left over from Halloween. I'm going to eat
fucking A, man.
I think election night at your house looks like a special event because you made your bed and you're not wearing your bathrobe.
I got my shit together.
You're all dressed up for that.
Half of one day of the year. No, actually, the shit's hitting the fan, so I'm trying to do better. Don't consent. You know, but so that's the upshot of it. It's just frustration, and that really sucks. I mean, is it any wonder we sound like a, you know, I mean, how to really implement change? You know, there's not going to be a revolution a la Che Guevara. We're too far along. And this thing about
because we're not allowed recreational nukes.
We should also try working towards like renewable energy. Like there's all this propaganda against renewable energy saying, oh, it needs coal and but like
actually no, I couldn't agree more. Actually, there was a great proposition here in Colorado that was a tackle against fracking. Which is incredible. So Lindsay can talk a little bit on that. No, she doesn't want to talk on that. Okay. Anyway,
and that's probably the number one global issue is energy and how to move away from fossil fuels. That's probably, you know, I said we don't even talk about the
we have solar, we have wind, we got water. You know, there's even fucking ways to make energy by like hooking your bicycle up to like a fucking rotor.
Yeah.
So,
and the vested interests currently hate that shit. As much as your conservative thinkers, you can call them Republicans these days, but your conservative thinkers don't want to subsidize someone else's health care to any degree. The vested interests, the powers that be at this point in time, they talk about it. They give it lip service from time to time as far as they have to because they're concerned about the optics, but they like their fossil fuel money, and that's why we're dragging ass on renewable energy. And energy is probably the number one question.
So here in Michigan, there's a company called Consumers Energy, Full disclosure, my dad worked there for 30 years, retired from there, whatever. It's a great company.
I sent him a pipe bomb.
They you're gonna have to deal with that. So they part of their plan, they're one of the better utility companies that I'm aware of. One of their plans is investing part of their profits into renewable energies, and they have a plan to be have a majority of their energy coming from renewable energy by a certain year. Now, this wasn't forced down by regulation. This has nothing to do with government as far as why they did this. Has made good business sense. So as it becomes more sustainable, the people with money are stupid not to invest in those. So I feel that the free market does a good job of that without the need for subsidies, of identifying the areas where it's most profitable and more of an investment. Because if anybody knows investments, it's people with money. So you can only contain your money for so long and try to protect your interests for so long before eventually you fall in line and go with where it's profitable. There are instances where investing in renewable sources of energy is profitable, and at that point, when it is profitable, that's when you're seeing more and more money. This company kind of went ahead of the curve and is doing that, but they're building that infrastructure to allow that to happen within 20 years. Or I'm throwing a number out of my ass, but
right.
I'm just saying they have a time frame of saying where they're going to have a majority of their energy coming, and this is, as far as I know, the largest energy company in Michigan.
Well, and this is where, you seem like an outsider when you say that it's not top down, it's bottom up, or a rebel or a revolutionary, but you're pointing to this stuff that has to do with first principles, in terms of, that's what you pointed to in terms of a form of governance. Let's not do the top down administration. Let's have it more for the people or for communities. And now here again, you're getting to the first principles thing. And this stuff, it gives me hope. It's a reminder that innovation is where the financiers go, real innovation, because the world's going to head there anyway if we look at the course of history and what really is indicative of real progress.
Efficiency is the main driver in everything we do, right? Making our life easier, better, more pleasurable, all the above.
But we sure seem stuck in the meantime.
That's why we started walking on two legs, for efficiency and metabolism, right?
And this is where I sound like a cynical, where everything I just said makes me sound cynical and in a way diluted, because you pointed out that the counter argument, which is really, we're moving in the way of progress overall. But God, I just feel so damn stuck.
Yeah, we know where we're going to go. So it's like we have a little bit of that time machine to know that we're going to get there. We just all want to get there faster. And that's fine. And where we differ is how we think we're going to get there.
Right.
Which is going to be irrelevant after we're gone. It's not going to be the way we got there. It's just getting there. And that's where your dollar does speak. And if you do support programs that more so deal with research, my main charities I donate to are for research, whether that be for medicine or renewable energies or the things I believe in. It's not so much of funding the Band-Aid, it's funding the stitches, right?
Bleeding edge.
So, and that's just, I'm just one person, it's just in a drop in their bucket in their total funding. But, that you gotta support those things that you believe in.
Speaking of that, if I can, I'm going to take a quick shameless plug to my wife. She actually, her and Ampolius are both going to be donating all of their funds that they earn on Steem this month to diabetes education and research. I don't know the exact programs they're planning to do it, but they're both planning to take all the stuff they earn on them to do that. So you'll notice that she put up like a Steep Shop post today.
Good.
Of talking about that. So everything from there is going to be.
They hide the cure for.
What's that?
One of the things that they hide the cure for, diabetes.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the happy diabetes song.
No, there's cures for diabetes and there's cures for cancer, but it's not profitable for the people that are in charge.
No.
Yeah, and for me, it always gets back to the business model. I mean, we could really easily move into, because when you're talking about what your wife and Polyist are going to do, that's their business model this month. And boy, I don't think anybody should start a business or involve themselves in a business at this stage, knowing what we know, that doesn't contribute or give back in some way. And I mean some significant way. Not like the Shave Club, who, they give every employee a half of a day each year to go concern themselves with whatever it is they feel passionate about. What the hell? I mean, seriously, if you're going to get involved with some company or some organization, make sure that it's a business model that gives back in a significant way. You just, all of their proceeds, all $14.95 in Steem they make off their various posts, they're going to give that to diabetes?
Yep.
Good.
That's awesome, man.
That's amazing.
Maybe I should send the full-time bots over there.
So
it's more than $14.
Well,
it'll be like $24.
Now he's not your enemy.
I've always said
we were never enemies.
I work for Brimley, and I like to talk to
Stop trying to make me a dirty bite.
If you mention him one more time, he shows up.
He does. He's like
with flags.
And furthermore, if you say one more bad thing about Bernie, I'm gonna turn him on you. I'm gonna sick Bernie on you. Like,
weren't you making a
well, you have to post in order to have Bernie be sick on you.
I was making, but I had a week here, and it's postponed, and it's okay because like he shows no sign of slowing. He just started a shit posting thing that he says he doesn't have control over. It's not his.
Oh, okay.
So
there's only like a couple people on this platform that find the Happy Diabetes song hilarious. Like you got Eric Wilson that laughed about it, and there's Sharon.
Solid 8 out of 10.
It is good memes.
Yep, solid 8 out of 10.
I'd give it a 7.5.
All right.
The
7
editing,
3/4.
because the editing is a little
just a little bit
lackluster.
Yeah.
But the concept is great.
What the hell is a glow cake? I gotta eat that.
Hey Patrick, I thought you were gonna shamelessly plug your project.
I was actually going to lean into that at some point. I was waiting for the perfect tie-in.
There you go.
Serve it up to you, buddy.
Looks like Eric's taking care of that uncomfortable segue for your ass.
Slip it right in.
Fritters.
Somebody give me a adequate permission to mute. Nobody said anything.
So one of the things we talked about before was that there needs to be better education towards voters, and people being more aware of issues. Many of you guys might not know. This is hard to do with you right now.
Please mute him. Somebody who's hosting this. Gone. Somebody.
But if y'all don't know, Steem is a lot like a representative democracy.
Stop it! You fucking creeper.
If I will mute him by a show of hands, but it has to be democratically done.
And my hand is up.
I only see one.
Well, that's enough, right? That's
Eric
how
has
voting
one.
works, doesn't
That's
it?
two.
I expect
That's two.
results.
He's muted. Go ahead, Patrick.
So if you guys don't know, Steem works a lot like a representative democracy, and that instead of each of us voting for measures on how the blockchain will run, we instead vote for witnesses to act on our behalf to run the blockchain. And so one of the things that dawned on me is I know a lot of the different witnesses and what projects is associated with and different things like that, but I don't actually know how they stand on issues that may come up that there'll be future voting on. So a project that I just launched today is called Witness Survey. That's going to be geared towards having the Steem community go forward and present questions that they would like answers from all of the witnesses in general. So how it will work is there's going to be posts that I will put out once a quarter where anybody on Steem, as long as you have a Steem account, can leave a question. Those questions will get compiled 2 weeks after the question period into a complete survey that's going to be distributed to each of the 146 active witnesses, or if that changes and there becomes more, we'll do it to each one of them. Allowing the witnesses the opportunity to stand up and voice their opinion on stuff before they vote on it with their software. For me, it came up because there was a trend to want to increase the account creation fee from 3 Steem up to 6 Steem. And a lot of people didn't even know about that going on. And then I started seeing people that I supported for witness promoting the idea of doing that. So that kind of taken me aback after I supported these people. That was going against my direct intentions for where this blockchain can go. And so that's kind of my shameless plug for the day, is that I hope that anybody watching any of the things will check it out. The first part where you can now issue questions is active on the Steem chain. You can also go to witnesssurvey.com and leave the comments there. There's going to be a lot of updates to the actual website over the future, but right now it's mainly just about getting good questions to be distributed to all the witnesses.
How can the steaming pile best support this endeavor?
I think at this point is raising awareness to talk about the ability to do this. I know of one other time there was a witness style survey about 2 years ago, but since then I don't really know of anything that is community driven to seek answers from all of the witnesses. There's different shows that have a witness on each time or different things like that. So for me, the biggest thing that can be done at the moment is getting questions, good quality, thought out questions that can be submitted to the witnesses over the next 2 weeks. Following that, it's just going to be seeking out the witnesses and preparing their engagement.
Okay.
Good shit, Pat. Good shit. Very nice, man. So, quick question. Something that comes to mind is like, okay, so how do I find out? And maybe it's through conversation, maybe it's through things being highlighted in the community. How do I find out what issues might be coming up or what issues are most relevant?
Really, to me, I think it's anything that is consensus related or is code related.
Yep. No, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But so how do you, let's see if I could rephrase this. How do you, how would you stop an irrelevant question from coming in, or an irrelevant question to be voted on, if that makes sense?
So essentially spam questions.
Yeah, right.
I actually have no issue with them. The idea that I presented for the witnesses that I spoke with is that the top 25 questions that the community in general votes on is what's going to be listed at the top of the survey. In the interest of fairness to everyone else, all questions are going to be listed on it. It's just going to be the witnesses' prerogative past the top 25 if they want to address those questions, or if they just want to look them over. It's up to them. For them, it may be a new vote if they address that one person who has a off-ball question, or it may not. But the community should hopefully be able to drive the top 25 questions to at least hopefully be relevant if we believe in the proof of brain concept.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, I agree with that. I think there might be a case.
Sorry.
No, you're all good. And you might be going where I'm going, but there might be a case where you have this. I know it's pessimistic. I know I go there most of the time, man. But you might have this scenario where really groupthink tends to go down. Go down a path that is really doesn't even make sense, right? I mean, and we could use the current political environment today. I mean, we don't talk about relevant issues right now. We've lost focus, if you will.
No, I agree completely.
Cool. But I great fucking initiative, dude. And I think we're still pretty early in Steam, where most of the consensus is pretty valid and actually makes sense. I mean, we're talking about pretty in-depth issues and topics, and we're having incredible discussions still. So this is far-reaching. I'm like, who knows if it'll even happen.
Well, I'm probably more of an average noob. You guys are further along than I am. So this stuff that's caught your attention, I'm learning. So it's helpful.
Is the witness survey live stream going to be part of the Steeming pile on a quarterly basis, or are you going to be starting your own stream?
I'm up to make it a part of here. We can all discuss the questions. Maybe we'll have new questions come about while we're on the pile.
It can be a new regular segment on the John Spalding show. Hell yeah!
Oh, I'll be doing what's that called that you do, Sean? The very quick, yeah, snaps or vlogs.
Snaps
on questions. Yeah.
Now let's consider this: it's in a witness's best interest to come on the show and perhaps answer a couple questions live.
It absolutely is.
For a witness is good.
It absolutely is. We'll have, and we'll have I'd suggest we either do it as a panel or there are ways to facilitate it where we can make that happen. And especially with everyone in here simulcasting, or a good number simulcasting, we can have a pretty dynamic set of conversations.
God, you keep reminding me, Eric, of this stuff that it seems difficult, but it's just so positive. I mean, if you're here to represent, then, and you have some principles, then you'd want to be more transparent, more accountable.
And if you can't be on, you send your own recorded version, or you upload a recorded version and one of us plays it.
Or you just tweet that shit. I'm sorry.
There's a hashtag.
Wrong representative. Clearly.
Well, no, if you use share to Steam, you can tweet it.
There you go.
I sent my bot.
You have a bot?
No, I don't have a bot. We don't need no stinking bots.
We got enough of those on this blockchain.
Right.
I don't have any bots, but I've got like 51 sock accounts.
What?
She's friends with Bernie.
Oh, there's the third time he's coming.
Damn it! Wouldn't it be cool if he showed up though?
Kind of would be.
Call-in number is right on my lower third. Anyone else?
What now?
I said the call-in number is right on our lower third.
Oh, yep. I didn't think to ask.
Actually, I don't have the call-in number. Damn, I only have my Zoom.
Everyone who's listening on someone else's channel, go to mine or Patrick's stream.
No, don't go to mine.
You don't have your lower third on, or you're not streaming either, or are you streaming some other movie here?
No, I don't have it on my third. I put it in the post.
What the fuck is up with you guys?
I don't know. Can you drop it in the Zoom chat so I can add it?
I got the meeting number on there. That's enough for people.
Can't you, if you go to Zoom, like on the invite, don't you have an invite thing on your Zoom window?
Yeah.
That's okay.
I'm making my
I'll pop it in the chat.
I'm gonna install the Linux Zoom client and fucking stream it the next time I do it, and I'm gonna have my own custom lower third.
Oh man.
Hot damn.
So did everybody catch Mino's post from 5 days ago, the open letter to a future Steemian?
Yes.
No, I did not.
I saw it, but I saw the headline.
Screen share that.
I uploaded it when it was under like $5, I think. It was only a couple dollars. It was real quick. And it got to $396. So it was on the trending. So yeah, I can screen share. And it's pretty quick. So I could actually just read through it real quick if you guys think that'd be.
Let's do it.
Sure. Because I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I recently started following him. He's got, what I've seen so far.
Mino is great. If any of you remember my post, basically it was post announcement, and I was talking about the reaction that was received, some difficulties myself, you know, just kind of struggling with it. And I went through that, and he actually invited me on the show like the day I made the post to talk about it, which I thought was pretty neat. He does a show on MSP Waves. So open letter to a future Steemian. It might seem weird to you that I'm writing you this letter months before you even showed up, but the more I think about my motives here, the more I wish someone had told me these things when I first started more than a year ago. So even though you might not walk away feeling too motivated from this letter, at least initially, I hope you take my word seriously and don't repeat the same mistakes plenty of us have made on this blockchain called Steem. Anyways, I suspect that if you found this letter written long before you arrived, it's because you were a bit frustrated and confused. There's a good chance that a prominent Steemian who is promoting this blockchain convinced you that coming to Steem was going to be a sure way for you to make money. And of course, some days or weeks into your journey, you are beginning to suspect you were lied to. In truth, yes, that's not how things work. And for the life of me, I don't know how people keep on making any guarantees still more than 2 years into this project, as if the promoters refuse to see how setting these unrealistic expectations have backfired so many times before. Maybe the best piece of wisdom I can provide for you is this. Most people won't make much here. Most won't become dolphins. They won't become whales. And honestly, it is not because of the way Steem works, at least not exclusively, but more because of our very nature. So the first idea that I think all of us should discard in this unrealistic expectations, if you will, in this unrealistic expectations, if you will. Now, this is not me saying that no one will succeed. This is, of course, demonstrably not the case. But those who, for the most part, have worked really hard in one way or another, or had the financial means to start out with a clear advantage. But again, this is just the way life works. If you are beginning to feel frustrated, if you're thinking about quitting, know that you're not alone. As a matter of fact, early on my Steemian journey, I found many talented people join, make a splash, if you will, and then quit when their expectations were not met. What I found somewhat sad about all this is that most, if not all, the ones who have left did so without ever understanding the real reasons why it was not working for them. Between the endless debates that never seemed to go anywhere regarding merit, quality, or even talent, at some point in time, all the ones who left felt the game was stacked against them. Why am I saying this? Because I suspect that if you're here right now, you are also writing down in your blog possibly reasons why Steem is broken and reasons why it's probably going to fail. You probably feel that your content is amazing, and thus whales and dolphins should be able to see this and reward you for sharing it on here. But as I simplify the position that so many have, let me ask you one question. How did you arrive at the conclusion that anyone had to support your efforts? The key word here is being had. And listen, I say this not because I don't understand the effort that someone might put into their content. Of course not. I've seen some amazing writers, amazing musicians who are far better than me at everything they do quit too, because they've stepped into this line of thinking and lose all desire to continue. In truth, anyone who has built an audience or stake here with content has probably done so in the most difficult of ways, not applying much of any way of the tricks. They probably posted hundreds of times without making a penny, probably gotten flagged by someone plenty of times, and endured plenty of challenges along the way. I, for one, don't know anyone who has always had it easy, but I'm willing to be proven wrong, of course. I suspect that you also find this letter at a time when Steem is a lot higher than it is today, sitting at 80 cents. So there's a good chance you are looking at the trending page, looking at the absorbent payouts, and wondering how in the hell is this a thing? If you let it, these thoughts are going to shift into anger, making you want to yell at bidbot owners, at whales for upvoting content you find valueless, and of course inspire a lot of posts about how Steem will fail along the way. This might be some tough love, but it's honestly pouring it out of me. There's almost zero chance anything you have to say is something we've all not heard before. Yes, all the complaints you've had about what is fair and what is not have existed almost since day one. And it's not that no one cares. It's that this is one of these situations where you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't demand freedom while at the same time dictate behaviors. And if you're not familiar with the freedom that blockchain represent, then I suspect you not dug deep enough. I will tell you one trick, one thing you can do, but only if you're willing to put in the work. It's so simple that some people don't ever believe it. Become part of the community. Get on Discord, get on Steam Chat, make friends, network with others, find people who love the same things you do, and participate in their activities. If you don't think about the money, but do a superb job at growing your network, eventually you will do well. But if you think that with content alone, with the merit of quality, you'll never become a whale one day, allow me to burst your bubble. That will never happen. Another thing I want to tell you before we say goodbye, be yourself. That's not difficult to do, but for some reason it seems that's the case at times. Write about the things you like, make videos about the things you enjoy. Don't worry about niches, what others want to read or hear. Who cares? People want connection. We all do. I, for one, like supporting good human beings with good ideas, not just ideas because those lack soul. If you're genuine, eventually you will garnish enough support. And trust me, this is probably the only thing that seems to be consistent, even if your ideas are a little fringe or crazy. At any rate, I hope you don't leave. I hope reading a letter from the strangers, giving your expectations a needed reset. As a good friend said to me once, and I begin to repeat her words, this is an endurance race, and only those who are able to see the good, even when many things are not great, will be the ones to reap the benefits of this blockchain. Sincerely, Mino.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah, that's great. Good shit.
So
well written.
Very well written. Mino is a gem. If you're not following him, follow him.
I will.
You won't regret it.
Done. Absolutely.
Show of hands, who says niche?
Niche.
I say niche.
I say niche.
That's
I
we've
generally-
gone rogue, Patrick.
It's okay. In a business sense, I usually say niche.
Is it Porsche or
But
Porsche?
when we're dealing with showers and they're building a niche, I generally call it a niche. For whatever reason, that's how it's wired in my brain.
Porsche depends on the stripper you ask.
Exactly. Seriously. And how come I can't get coins in the never mind.
Because they don't like that kind of thing.
I don't like strip clubs. Yeah.
Strip clubs, yes or no?
What's that?
Yes.
Yes.
I said strip clubs, yes or no?
No.
But not on a Friday night.
You know how expensive those drinks are, man? Fuck that,
Oh my
dude.
god, yeah.
Not
I'm gonna
worth
go
it.
to the front row.
I
and
got
I'm
the internet.
gonna eat a chili dog while I'm looking up at whatever the hell that is.
I've only actually performed a strip club. I've never been to one as a
I
patron.
could just go to a rave and watch a bunch of girls throw their
Sean.
clothes off and dance to shitty music for free.
Oonch, 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 oonch.
Why is this guy in the front row laughing while he eats a chili dog?
No,
It
it's
is
true.
okay.
The only time I've ever been to a strip club was playing in a metal band. It was this weird gig we got for playing a couple in Oregon, which we haven't been in Portland. There's a strip club every other building. So, so that was interesting show. Just like everyone, they were still doing stripping, but it was to our music, and we played like metal.
They were still doing stripping.
still doing the stripping.
You want to
I see they're over there still doing that stripping
It's time to
thing.
go home.
Yeah, I am real man. You want to go see sports?
This is perfect. You were cute. You can't try to be cute. When guys try to be cute, it's always fail. But somehow you were cute there. It was just...
Oh boy.
We're doing the strip.
No homo.
Oh,
You have to preface it.
Absolute, total, and complete homo.
who just said that? Oh, I see.
So yeah, as far as like Tamino's post, I do my best to focus my energy on things that improve it. You know, it's super easy to identify the failures, but there's so many people so motivated to do something valuable to the blockchain that there's really people putting a lot of time, like Patrick doing the witness survey, you know, trying to be the change of what they want to see. And it's beautiful. This Steem blockchain is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I keep having the same conversation over and over with enthusiastic newcomers that end as soon as they ask me, but where does the money come from? And I'm like,
I'm surprised that there aren't more people jumping on the pile tonight. Because we've been all over with stuff. I'm surprised there aren't more people like coming in and yelling at us, even if it is for 10 or 15 minutes.
There must be that many people wrapped up in the coverage, or what's? I mean, this is definitely a slow night.
Yeah,
slow night.
I wasn't sure.
Drinking their, you know, celebrating and drinking, or drinking away their sorrows, tears in their beer, kind of thing. You know? I don't know.
Who I've got to ask. I've asked a couple of different ways discreetly, but who's got water running in the background?
We do have a fish tank.
You have a fish tank.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to suffocate him for about 30 more minutes, because that's the air filter, right? Or the bubbler. Or
Yes.
or
No,
water,
it's the filter.
The water running down.
It's the filter.
Yeah, water running down.
I just filled it up today too. God damn it. Not enough.
No tormenting the fishies.
No suffocating them.
Can you like throw a towel over them like a bird?
She's got to pee.
Quiet?
Okay.
Especially when they're the symbol for my star sign.
I'm a little easily irritated by environmental sounds, and I'm just hearing this water running, and I'm like, guys.
Wow. Now that's self-aware. That's self-awareness that I don't have.
I'm gonna open up the windows. It's raining outside. This should be fun.
All these noises coming in. All these noises is going to make everyone have to go to the bathroom.
She hears the water, and she's going, bah!
Maybe next time I'm going to have like some music in the background for me to listen to.
My fan over here.
Drown out it. Oh, you know what happened when you spoke into your mic like a strip club DJ? You made yourself a little quieter.
Oh.
Yeah, like you're diminished.
Yeah, you are a lot quiet.
Now we can't hear you at all.
I said it might be noise cancellation.
Ah.
Yeah, the Mino thing.
That sound you're hearing, you're still hearing it? Could it be my fan? Should I kill my fan?
It's not your fan. We got to the bottom of it. It was a fish tank.
And now the fish are dying. Slowly.
Yeah, I'm on mute. No, we're on mute. They're still alive.
There's more
They're
fish in the
not gonna be
sea.
suffocated because of all seeing you. Not happening. And they will not be covered like they're an ugly stripper either.
I said bird. Bird. If you like put a towel over the bird cage, the bird gets quiet. I was wondering if the fish.
We used to have birds too. Yeah, we did the same things for when they went to sleep. Yeah.
I had a bird, and whenever he would start to be sort of a pain in the butt, I would like just cover his little head, be like, "Oh, look, it's nighttime," and he would actually go to sleep. It was sick.
What a bird brain.
Okay, anyway.
Thank you, Patrick.
So are we done?
Whatever happened with the elections?
I don't know.
So it looks like
What are these elections for?
Midterm, Senate, Congress.
Jesus.
Governor.
Oh my God.
Like I mentioned earlier, I'm still stuck with Governor Homo.
I quite like Governor Homo.
Oh,
John,
man.
I've never actually seen you laugh.
That was great. That was great. I was just about to say I believe that the Democrats took control of the House of Representatives, and I couldn't.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm showing 157 to 156 there.
I'm a firm believer in false dichotomies.
You are? I think there's a lot of people that don't know what those are.
Yeah. This or that.
Looks like 1639 is going to pass.
What's 1639?
1639.
Is that the one you introduced?
No way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then, of course, the first tweet I saw that was talking about it, Gone Rogue, says, "We are setting the example for the rest of the country." What did you say?
Oh my. Oh my. Not even waiting for data or results. They're going to go straight to campaigning.
Experimental blueprint on how to get gun shit done.
Jesus. Yeah. That's what's going to happen. Yeah, so unfortunately, so the fracking bill here, 112, which do you want to talk on it, Nareshi?
Yeah, so I'm super upset because they're calling it as a not passed, and it's a people's initiative out here in Colorado, super important. They wanted to increase the distance between fracking sites and people's homes, also hospitals, schools, main waterways, which provide clean drinking water. So it was going to be a really good thing. Unfortunately, did not pass. Of course, you have the oil and gas industry with their money and their fucking media and all that shit. So, you know, with the people, this group, Colorado Rising, is actually a what's it called, a nonprofit. And so obviously that group is not going to have the money to compete with that kind of advertisement and all that. So
we shit more for over here in this area. We're gonna not let you take away our fracking because that makes some money.
And it, yeah, and so
go ahead.
Yeah, so and this was a proposition. So there's going to be a statutory change. Anyways, what was it? 60 to 40. So
it was 57, 40, 43. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
So the crazy thing is, you have. Okay, so we have a Colorado Oil and Gas Commission institution here. Okay, and this is essentially a body of government that is overseeing the regulation. Okay, most of the board members on this entity came from the oil and gas industry. And you guys probably may or may not know this, but Colorado has Weld County, one county in Colorado. It's the biggest county in Colorado, but it is the most fracked county in the nation. So we have a lot of interest when it comes to oil and gas. So just and to see a proposition like that, even make it onto the ballot first of all, and then get an over 40% vote is actually really, really good. To be quite frank, but that, just from a statistical standpoint, numbers like that are actually pretty good.
Yes, I want to
add something. Let me ask you this. Is Colorado, for the most part, historically...
Get closer to your mic or something, because
you're... Can you hear me better?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so Colorado, for the most part, historically a Republican state, conservative in their thinking?
So most recently it's been purple, but we've got... So it would be purple right down the strip of Colorado, so down I-25, both on the front range, and just off to the east side of I-25. But the two ends of Colorado, so the Western Plains and the Eastern Plains, super heavily conservative.
We're talking urban versus rural. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Right. So, and I guess the reason I asked that is because a lot of this has to do with the way a particular referendum, to my thinking, is worded. And, it's kind of like the same way that the people that win in history get to write the books. The people who are dominant in terms of power in a given situation, they get to word the referendums. And where I live in my state, the particular referendums were worded in such a way that you might, if you were unknowing or unwittingly, you'd think you'd be checking a box and you go, wow, this sounds good because the way they've worded it, but really you're not helping out the common person at all. You're actually subverting the very idea that you were looking to help out, or the cause that you would have liked to have glom onto. Anyway, I was wondering if that plays a role at all.
No, I think it was pretty nonpartisan, if you will, because essentially it was just proposed as a 2,500 foot setback from 500 feet. Right. It's just a health and safety thing. It's pretty nonpartisan, and most of the propaganda campaign from the other end was essentially jobs. That's it. Jobs.
Which isn't even true. Which isn't even true, because less than 1% of the state's revenue, first of all, comes from industries like gas and oil, and as are the 1% of jobs in Colorado. And they plan to start using robots to replace most of the jobs that the humans have anyway. So if anything's going to affect the job, it's going to be their actual plan to do that. So
they had the better bankroll as far as their public relations.
Yes, exactly.
They were able to what is it they call it, framing a message, what we call today spin, and it was heavy on the fear factor.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, for one, like I'll be straightforward too. And I don't give a fuck whether or not we lose jobs. I don't care if my fucking uncle, and I'm serious about this. I don't care if my uncle or whoever in a family member, whatever, is going to lose a job because of an industry that they're in. If they're going to lose the fucking job, so be it. If you're a prison guard and we're shutting down prisons and you're losing a job, I don't care. I really don't care. Like my principles will come first. Like that's where I stand on this, and it's really hard to deliver that kind of message when you're running campaigns and shit. But I mean, that's my perspective. I don't care whether or not it's true. If we are going to lose jobs, fuck it, let's lose jobs.
Anyone. That was what we call passion.
Well,
fuck fracking.
This is also, I mentioned earlier that we have the initiative going on. I believe it's 1631, which was a carbon fee. And it looks like that's actually losing in our state. I looked a little more into it, and I guess it broke because I said that there was a lot of, you could follow the money on it. The no proposition to go against the fee was 31 million in our state, and that breaks the record for the most contributed to a from outside money. 31 million, and it looks like it's actually winning. So that money's paying off for whatever reason. So that's interesting. That because I know NRA and Seattle NRA backing the 1639. And which is, again, like I said, looking like it might win and go yes, but then we're going no on the carbon tax, which would be the first of the kind in the nation as well. So again, just my point to Washington, really, exploring our freedom as a state in our own way, our own liberal way, and it's very interesting to see how all this works out.
See, I don't support. I don't support losing jobs when the government is forcing the industry to shut down. So I don't agree with making business more difficult to deal with. As far as regulations, you can argue with what's good for an area and what's not for an area. But when it comes to taxing carbon, I understand the argument, but I don't agree with the application of it. So, for me, I understand where your heart's at and what you're trying to do, but I don't think making business more difficult in one industry does anybody good, because the money's going to be wasted anyways. You're gonna make it harder for businesses to do business based off of an ideal, and you think this stuff isn't just going to magically appear. It's going to take work. In other industries, you're reducing margin and ability to provide services, so you're making it difficult on everybody. So that's where I more support the free market, pardon the buzzword, in the sense of money going where, in this case, it's the outside money can be argued affected the votes, but you're also saying it's a first of its kind initiative in the nation. You're trying to set precedent. A lot of people don't want that precedent set because everything's a slippery slope. Right? So more places would feel entitled to do that as well, and it could snowball from there. Some people would want it to. I don't. I would rather focus on making industry more efficient and having less emissions as a waste. I don't think we have to do a carbon tax to do that.
Well,
it's financially smart, so of course they are.
I
You
just
know,
Well, I don't know
the
that it is.
manufacturing industry where it's
I just realized that in the big picture, what the difficulty that I envision, it took me a while to get to this, is that the problem with misinformation is that it crowds out reality or ideas and sort of concepts and thinking that's more realistic and rational and evidence based. That's the problem with misinformation. And also, you know, and Sam Harris said something along these lines, is when he talks about religion. He says moderation lends cover and gives rise to extremism. In other words, here's the deal. If you've got the more sort of pervasive and well-financed voices, but they're not giving you the big picture and they're not making you privy to certain truths, and at the same time they're playing on emotion or whatever trigger it is that they're switching over there that makes you switch off to the alternative message, then you might not get the better info. So that's the problem. I'm with you in that the big picture, you're a smart guy. Everything is worth learning, and eventually the crappy stuff will be weeded out. But that doesn't really, for a lot of people, it's not the way to streamline it and optimize your way to a more sort of what I would call fair and sustainable approach to things. A lot of people, that misinformation needs to be dispelled quickly so we can get on to the good stuff and the real truths. Does that make sense?
Yeah. John, would you you were pretty passionate there, and I genuinely want to hear what you have to say as far as the efficiency of feeling that they don't. Well,
money.
And we put oil-friendly people in jail.
I think, and I don't think it's a matter of because I phone banked for it, right? And a lot of people were confused about the way the language was written. I mean, here in Colorado, we're lucky enough, we actually get a booklet with all of the information about everything that's on the ballot. Coming from Arizona, we didn't have that. But still, because of the way it's written, people actually that wanted to vote yes were saying, oh, thank goodness, because I was going to vote no. I'm so glad you called. And so a lack of information is a huge issue too, right? But just to go back to the whole jobs thing, and I'm totally with you, John, on renewable energy. Like, I think that is the way to go. I think we're at a point now where we can absolutely get rid of this shit, you know, and replace it. And my point about the jobs is these people complaining about, well, you get rid of that, you're getting rid of these jobs, is you swap that over to renewable energy.
Oh, well, who cares about the jobs ultimately? Because, you know, we shouldn't be worrying about jobs. We should be worrying about, you know, automating things and making things cheaper, or at least free to people, like going on that Star Trek level of like post-scarcity where everything can be offered for free.
Well, then UBI is an issue, though. Yeah.
Yes. And what I love about, I mean, just the blockchain space is you have this innate like enthusiasm about innovation. Just like, let's fucking try shit, which is really cool. There's consensus. You guys are familiar with this. Oh, sorry, can you guys hear me?
Better now.
So consensus, yeah. So the blockchain space is just this. I love the family because it's just this. We have this ambition to try new ideas and just innovate until our hearts to our heart's desire. What's really cool. You guys may already know this, but consensus, which is like really Ethereum's mother company. That kind of spreads education, buys other companies, and kind of promotes this idea of decentralization. Is they just bought a company that is going to mine asteroids. It's an asteroid mining company. So basically, there are other ways to extract resources, and if we don't fucking try new things, we'll never get new. We won't get anywhere. We get so attracted and attached to this idea of fear. No, let's not do this. Let's not, and nobody ever wants to try any kind of change or anything like that. And it's the majority of people lean towards that. But we've got to move away from that, man. That is, at least doesn't fit in my human nature. So I enjoy imposing that onto others.
The initiative says that it could get us $1 billion by 2023, and it's left open, for better or worse, to be decided where the money goes by a committee. And so that's kind of interesting because you could, in theory, say, okay, fine, let's take some of this money, put it in our infrastructure, which I know this Washington State really needs help with. And then maybe, throw the rest of it into, more green energy and renewable energies, I know someone that works for PSE, and they're huge in oil, especially Montana, or coal, and they get a lot of it from Montana and that sort of thing. But I also know that they've done a lot to go through to wind, but like there's only so much land they can get a hold of to build on, and there is a shitload of people for them to supply energy to. There's a overpopulation we're dealing with, which makes it even harder. So it is kind of a baby steps too, but obviously I think being in Washington State, we've got maybe a little more of a lead when it comes to green energy on certain things, but I don't know.
Post scarcity FTW.
So I'll contest to something that you said earlier, John, in that the way to end our military industrial complex is to bring renewable resources back home. I don't agree, because I think that what's going to happen is we're just going to start going after rare minerals. Instead of being the Middle East, we'll be warring with Korea or whoever has the biggest host to the minerals we need to produce the chips for solar panels. I think the only way we can actually end the military industrial complex of the United States is to remove currency from the creation of the federal government under the Fed through tasks like Bitcoin.
Yes.
We have to. You talk about
So
fracking.
ultimately, like, put it back to gold standard.
No, put it to a global standard.
Bitcoin standard. What the hell are you talking about? Gold, man.
Well, there's going to be a lot more gold into the market because we're going to be mining it from asteroids.
Okay.
Mhm.
There's even ways to make energy, like I said earlier, without needing like all these fancy equipment. Like we could take bikes and we can modify them with like these motor rotors things to actually like generate electricity that way. Like I've heard like stories of people living off the grid and they bike for an hour and that powers their house for the day.
Yeah, or kinetic power. I mean, just the idea of walking the floor and that kinetic push every time you step on the floor produces small amount of power that just continues to accumulate. And the more people in a house or on a floor stepping on it, dancing, whatever, will just accumulate. There's so many ways.
Well, you know, so sort of the same way I was talking about how, not inherently, but in capitalism and democracy work against each other. And Eric was careful to point out that, okay, we don't want to scrap democracy in favor of socialism because that's top down. We need to do something that's more in the interest of the people. That's what progressive humanism is about.
Like
There you go. Sort of along the same line, there's this idea that, on the one hand, you have utilitarianism, which is about the most good for the most people. On the other hand, and I love this because Steven Pinker talks about it in his book. I couldn't find a searchable PDF. All I found was a damn Moby, which I couldn't search. But Steven Pinker talks about in his book, utilitarianism, as is commonly understood, means the most good for the most people. But on the other hand, you have this idea, and I think of it as akin to Ayn Rand and what is it? Foundationalism, you know, where it's like, as long as I'm doing what's good for me, it's likely to be what's good for my group and expanding from there, my community. And you see what I'm saying?
That's right.
But these two things, in a sense, are at odds. One is the most good for the most people, and the other is I'll pursue what's best for me, and the world's going to gravitate towards me. I'm a good baker. I'm a good mechanic, which in a way works, but it's not perhaps the best way, and it doesn't account for the sort of roller coaster effect over time. Does that make any damn sense? He put it better than I do. There's this thing that's balanced against utilitarianism that's not as sustainable. God damn it.
God damn it.
God damn it.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I don't want to hear more about that.
I'm getting hungry and tired.
And lonely? God damn it.
Shit.
Where were you bit by a Venus flytrap?
Don't ask him that. It was a lie.
Was it like your face?
He was lying.
He was teabagging.
No, he didn't bite your toe unless you stuck your toe inside of it and waited for like 30 seconds for it to go. You didn't have a look. It's getting worse.
Well, federal legislation.
Open Space is an idea workshop that aims to
I dated this hippie chick, and she would end entire conversations with like,
She would just do this and walk away. TJ's got a nice way of doing it. Kind of.
That's a funny thing you bring that up. I don't know why I thought about it, but it's kind of frustrating now that I'm on DTube so much that I can't get anyone to come over. It's like you're either pre-recorded or you're live stream. It's like
I can't get either one to work.
Dude, that's doing both. It's
maybe I'm not an influencer.
Yeah, that is part of it. It's a little tribal. You definitely get that from those guys. Yeah.
Or maybe I'm not an influencer.
With that kind of attitude, baby, you're definitely not.
Yeah, I went over there basically trying to, build the community and that sort of thing. And so in that point, in that idea, they saw me trying to create good content and that sort of thing. But as far as being able to combine that community with the community I've already built has been not as easy as I thought. I really thought I'd kind of...
Poopy heads, we call them.
That's why we just hang out with each other now. That's what happened.
Okay, people. That's it. I've had enough of you.
You're that tired.
I'm hungry. I'm tired.
I got some Lee's. Got a chicken strip.
I have some amazing tacos that my son made.
Fish tacos?
No, cow tacos with homemade guacamole. And I'm gonna...
Sounds good.
Making me hungry, and I'm eating.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna end my. No, maybe. Can I just? Can I I could stop my recording. Stop the recording so that my upload is a little easier later, and then but keep streaming it.
To not kick
with,
off. Yeah,
with me not on it.
Yeah.
Or I can just tell my look at he just brought me a plate of tacos. I don't want to.
Yeah, seriously, just chow down. I had a glow.
I actually took a bite of taco earlier.
All the time. I ordered Taco Bell the last time I was on here. I had Chinese food. I had.
I'll be honest. Frequently, cam chat. The best thing you can do is just waste some time eating here and make it passive.
Hell, I even ate fucking oatmeal one of the first times I came in here.
I'm not a streamer.
Yeah, you are.
If I eat these tacos on camera, then I will officially be a streamer. But look, it's Facebook. Let me show you my food.
Dude, soft tacos. Oh, those look yummy. Shit. Is that pork?
No, I said it's cow.
We have the same robe.
No, look, it's.
I don't have to.
Yeah.
Your advice better be good, Katie.
No. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll mute myself and turn off my camera and eat.
That's my yeah. That's the one
really fast. Just be like, like that. That's what I'll do.
Yeah. So
when I meet the Scorpio goth girl, I want love snips not to be pierced by her stinger.
I have no idea what you just said.
Nor do I. It's kind of freaky.
But chat, man, is nothing but me. So feel free to say hi to me, people. Come on. I'm getting upvotes, but no one says hi. A few. I mean, I'm at 39 cents, but I've got like. Hold on. What's my total? The total right now
You're at 39 cents.
39 cents. So I'll take it. Whatever. One bot kept on doing. I got a whole bunch from the same bot, but with different numbers.
Don't say Bernie Sanders.
No, I've never gotten anything but flags because of my asking.
It's him.
Hey, Katie said hi. Oh, there we go.
Hi, Katie.
Thanks. I don't care if you knew what I said, Katie. I'm just happy you said hi.
Isn't Katie your wife?
Yeah.
Not mine.
Did you
See, I'm still hearing that, yeah.
Yo, Frank.
Hello, Frank.
Yeah, wouldn't really call me a guest, guys. Oh, nice. I see. I just missed you. I'm so sorry about that. I know that she was probably timing that perfectly. Yeah, but you literally bailed on call like right as I came in. I was going to say a quick hi.
I'm gonna go make oatmeal.
Yeah, I know. And she's texting me on another channel, but she won't talk to me. So, yeah.
Is that Katie's voice, Sean? Who is this? Is that the voice of Katie we're hearing?
Well, this is Frank right here.
Hi, welcome.
I certainly hope I don't sound anything like Katie.
I am
None of
Katie.
the Katie's I know, yeah.
Like there's that laugh from Patrick in the background. Hi, Katie.
Hey, Frank. So this was supposed to be a live stream that kind of revolved around midterms in 2018. Can you give us a quick summary what you think about midterms?
So my summary, I'll make it a little easier. I've been seeing a major change in the world for the last 5 years. So since 2012, a lot of the things that I think culturally we've been kind of indoctrinated to follow the pattern of, like, oh, it's always been this way, so it goes this way and this way and this way. Well, I think a lot of that's changed since 2012. So in my analysis, I see these as like more and more breakdowns of the society we're in. I mean, I'm not that old, but I'm coming up on about half a century here, and just in my time, I've seen enough red pills going on and people waking up and deciding that they want to do something different. And now, guys, we're in the middle of a fucking, pardon the language, but a blockchain revolution.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And blockchain is the technology that bypasses a whole bunch of this duplicitous shit that we get, crammed down our throats.
Right.
And so I hate it. I hate the election season. I don't believe in voting in the sense that I don't believe I should go to somebody and ask them for privileges that I should already have. Or rights that I should already have. And I don't identify with them anymore. Like I said, it's been kind of a rough 5 years. So with that, I don't think it's really anything's going to change. It's a whole lot of hoopla, and everything's going to go back to the same old shit tomorrow, which is nothing's going to get done.
True.
Yeah, that's right.
So this isn't top down or bottom up. This is just subversion. This is just radicalism.
It's perversion.
Yeah,
yeah, that's even better. That's more.
Yeah, they are, because we're in 2018. Has anybody out there, I mean, not just you guys, but has anybody seen anything that even remotely looks like you can have an absolutely solid election? The votes
it needs an undoing. It needs an undoing. What you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, really, it all comes down. This is what's going to bleed into the conversation with Steeming, and what we've already kind of stepped into with Steeming is less of to me, of a social network, and it's an identity layer. Just like the blockchain is this cool new device, and the first cool killer app they had out of the first blockchain was Bitcoin. The first killer app was the currency. The blockchain itself can still work without the currency being the absolute only central point in it. It can still do all these amazing things. Everybody's just so focused on it as a currency.
Right.
And what's worse, they're focused on it as a currency and exploiting it with damn dirty blood dollars. Like, hey, let's invest in this. Oh, I got to go out and make more blood dollars to buy more of this big. Instead of using the actual device, which is like a precursor to all this bullshit that we're having to deal with. So if we go future primitive, if we go a little bit tribal and start organizing around these technologies that are built in consensus, we're going to overthrow these kinds of limited hangouts that we've been, in for a long time. I'm talking like over the lifetimes. We've been in thousands and thousands of years of Babylonian priestcraft running this planet is coming to an end in our lifetime. That's my perspective.
It's another thing altogether. that undoing. Yeah.
Yeah, that was excellent, very well put. So do you
Thanks,
think
guys.
do you think that the current political situation, the way that we do things now, as archaic as it is, do you think
do I think there's any hope in it? No.
It comes from good ideals, though.
And that was exactly where I was going. Is there's there's an entire school of thought that says, okay, yes, this can be turned around, and there's another school of thought that says, this is beyond no return. We're at the point of no return. We need a different solution. Done. Let's do it.
We need things to get worse before they get worse, because they have to in order for it to really break down. I haven't seen it get to the real worst place. I think it's really worse right now, kind of ahead of time, because I already see the country in a state of civil war. Well, it's already in a kind of a state of civil war. I really don't think this is going to hold together for another 2 years.
Well, and that was like the civil.
I said, hello, demagogue.
Yeah.
Authoritarianism.
The silver lining some people saw with Trump was like, oh, good. If we go in a certain direction and we keep going that way, maybe it will end up to a point where people really get out in mass and we see whatever change that would result in.
What do you guys think happened in 2016? What was the 2016 election in your guys' views?
It was about extremism. It was about an appeal to emotion, which Edward Bernays pointed up in terms of his ideas about public relations. You talk about precursors. A precursor to that was Freud, and talking about how we're more controlled by our emotions than we're ready to acknowledge.
We're a group mind, and this is the Babylonian priestcraft I was talking about. It's modern marketing. Right. Everybody knows the neural processes of the human body, and they can just program the meat stacks to do whatever the fuck they want.
Hi, dumbass meat stack.
Yeah.
Does it give you a boner? Vote here.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make you sad? Go out and get angry and pull that lever.
Exactly, and that's exactly it. It's just this. It's like we're still in the stand. If you're voting, you're still in the stands, and you're watching a game going on down there. I'm getting out of the stands. I want to join. I want to get in the parking lot, hang out with the tailgaters, and come up with something new. While all these idiots are still running back and forth on the 50-yard line or whatever, because they never move the ball off the 50-yard line. You noticed, Dems on one side, Republicans on the other, and they 5 yards.
Dude, that's where the money is. What is it? I'm sorry, it's so obvious. Controversy sells. I mean, look, we're deep into this shit, and it's important. No, it's not. That's a distraction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so with the no vote being the bigger demographic out there, the no vote, nobody even went out to the votes, and did any of that. Hopefully, out of that group of fellow meat sacks, we can start creating identity features that we can now relate to. Like, I can relate to everyone in this room like another citizen of another country. That's the way I look at it, because you all are on Steem or on Steem. I'm sorry. Pardon my faux pas.
Whatever crypto you have.
I just learned that distinction like 2 weeks ago.
Like Garanimals, we're going to mix and match that.
We tried to push that distinction first off early on, because I was an early user of Steem and was trying to do a lot of these things that you all are into, but I've had a lot of the difficulties and still do, and so I can't be full time or really attentive to it. But I love getting into it and seeing you guys doing this steaming pile, and I'd like to help you guys take it even further and further. I don't want you to stop doing this. I want you to keep doing this, and really, it's not about views. It's not about bringing a whole bunch of viewers. It's really about having a good collection of a community, Yeah,
the combos are always good.
Mm-hmm. If you go for the numbers, if you go for the numbers, go back to YouTube and get into the PSYOP game, because YouTube is playing with everybody's mind on that.
That's why I stopped YouTube, because I didn't want to be, such a, I'm already a small fish, so I might as well be a small fish here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then the other thing is that it's not going to be for long, because this thing's going to, despite the fact that I think that the guys at Stink keep trying to break this thing or kill it or destroy it or not make it work or whatever, it's an open source system, and it's going to keep getting, minutely better here and there. But really, I like it from the standpoint of it not being too good and competing, because I think that's what its real power is. It's about people that take this enormous step backwards, like the pre-social networking days, when social networking was just starting. There was a thing called LiveJournal out there. It was a precursor to MySpace. And so I see this as my journal, or it's LiveJournal all over again. So I've jumped back like 15 years. And now I'm getting to redo what I did wrong before, which was, I kept jumping into newer and newer social networks and getting into the diaspora of community building on all these networks. You don't know who you are because you get, 22 accounts, it's multiple accounts on different platforms. You're scattered all over the place. You can't remember who you're talking to. Oh, follow me over here because I can't talk to you on Twitter or this or that. I'm done with all that. I want to get back to where there's an identity standard. And then you go build the networks you want to build, but you use this identity standard. No more of this centralized hub of me logging into Zuckerberg's database or Jack Dorsey's database, and then they give me privileges based on what they think I should have.
I never could do it anyway. It's just early on, I'm an old man. I've been on the internet for like 20 years, which is less than half my life. And in the early stages, I read some hackers, and they said, this is how to be a good netizen. And they said, don't give your fucking data away. And I'm not paranoid, and I'm not into conspiracies, but I just didn't lapse into that easily because I wasn't young. I wasn't naive. And I never bought into this shit to begin with. I always stood back. I waited. I watched. I listened, and I tried to learn. And this is how we got screwed. And by we, thankfully, I mean you and me in the process, And so let's not do that anymore, which is that layer you're talking about, which has everything to do with identity. It's the thing Gone Rogue mentioned earlier. It's the problem that keeps us from a more effective, sort of efficient, optimized, streamlined approach to elections. It's like, if we're going to do it, we got to do it right. And identity and reputation is everything. The promise is somehow creating real connections, via these digitization networks, computers. And that's the promise. And it's based on trust. And we have no idea yet how to translate what we're doing here to what historically we've been doing for at least 200,000 years as human beings. So it's not only that the technology is the way that it is, it's the way we're adapting, we're not quite there yet. So that's the promise. It's real connections based on trust. I lost
sooner or later, I'm going to run off with that concept that you're explaining. I'm going to run off and expand it by actually doing a community around the concept of a Steem identity until something better comes along. But I've been waiting for 2 years. I was waiting a year before Steem it with the Scenario group. Scenario is another blockchain out there that's just dead on the runway. So many of them are because they're doing the wrong thing, and that is they're trying to raise money. And Steem it didn't raise money and just built a blockchain. They did something really, really stupid in the beginning, and they just concentrated about 80% of the wealth in the hands of a few people when they came out. They were luckily able to get it into the exchanges, and it got turned into an accepted crypto, and it's around a $200 million market cap. But these guys are still running around trying to do God knows what. I mean, as soon as they made that and it worked, they were set. But they stole all the money out of the bank in the very beginning, and then they tried to be the egalitarian, or what do you call it, the benevolent dictator, I guess, to try and grow the community. And this is what we've been watching for the last 2 years, is this kind of great idea. I mean, it's working. Steem is fantastic from the standpoint of just looking at it in the comparison of all the other cryptos out there. Because look, if I want to send either of you guys money, I can do it in 3 seconds, just knowing your name. I don't have to get permission or anything, or ask for a wallet address or anything like that, and I can get it to you in 3 seconds. Which to me is the whole point of the crypto world to begin with for currency, is to move it frictionless and fast and micro payments, things like that.
You're reminding me of Alan Moore, who is a great fucking documentary bio thing. It's called The Mindscape of Alan Moore. And he talks about those things that are done with just purely from the heart, with no expectation of reward whatsoever, and no sort of greed involved, and no sort of monetary gain. And that's the stuff that works. But again, you might be over here without this authoritarian tendency, and you have this inclination to think that everybody who gets over here won't have that authoritarian tendency. And it's almost a cognitive bias, because what you realize is a lot of people they have this authoritarian tendency so that they can get people over here, and the shit never works. You know, like I said, it's those things that are done from the heart without a promise in the future or some necessary gain from that.
True. You speaking of the Alan Moore, the comic book writer?
Yeah, exactly. The guy who wrote.
So all of my sci-fi work is a lot based on him, mostly based on Robert Anton Wilson, but major influence by Mr. Moore there.
Yeah.
And V for Vendetta, and you know, all that other shit that he did. He was a great graphic novelist. And I didn't mean to just pile in, guys, and steal the show. I'm glad to meet everybody.
I'm gonna go pee. We're professionals.
Great.
I'm gonna go pee. I'll be right back.
Great to talk with ESP. You can tell.
You all rocks. Stop it.
The bridge.
You mean the vague and cryptic posts? Oh, okay.
So I'm a big fail artist because I don't have the time and energies to be a really good entrepreneur. I'm much better as a chaos magician. You're just going in and radically disrupting things and figuring out what can work and what can't. And so I've had kind of a preordained, like to me 2 years ago, set of things that are going to have to happen in order for me to kind of get where I want to get to. And luckily one of them happened Saturday, which was I got to meet somebody who is a real mover and shaker and kind of knows about development stuff. Now I did this a year ago on Steem where I was working with developers and trying to get into other blockchains and things. And where I wanted to take Steem was I just wanted to get it out of the hands of the guys. I wanted to get it out of the hands of Ned and Dan before Dan left. When Dan left, I thought that was ridiculous. So, Ned's been using this thing, and I don't think of Ned as like the head of Steem. In fact, I want him gone. I want to get his profile removed. I'd love to get him fired or something. Well, let me ask you this. Okay, the guy gets this thing built, hoards about 80% of the money up front. You make money on this thing by basically producing content, and then none of these motherfuckers will even use it to write some basic info about the post, about the system itself. This motherfucker goes out on Twitter and spends 10,000 tweets over the last 2 years. Add them up. Okay, you can see how much he's been using the other networks. And then when he uses this one, he puts out like cryptic, crazy shit. That's my job. I'm the cryptic, crazy motherfucker on this platform, not him. And I've got 5,000 posts. He's got less than 1,000. Why is he not using his own? Why is he not eating his own dog food? He is the worst CEO you could ever pick for a project like this. That's it. I mean, I
post, so we'll see. Come on and explain yourself, Ned.
Yeah, I'd like to see the guy fired. I almost got him on the radio and in Austin because he moved to Austin and he'd gotten on one of the stations and shows that I helped with. And I had all these difficulties, and I missed it before he bailed before I got on the line. But it's one of the best recorded shows. It was him talking about SMTs on the crypto show out of Austin, and this would have been right around 10 months ago or something. And then in the second hour, I came in, and I'm going to be obnoxiously arrogant here and just tell you I sounded way better than this guy did. For the second hour, I mean, I didn't talk smack about Steem. I was gung ho about it. I was telling you how to use it, how it worked. In the whole first hour, it's him spinning a bunch of fucking juju about the mystical SMTs. That where are they? You guys can't even build a fucking mobile app. You're going to now move into SMTs. Give me a mobile app and give me some other paid services on this platform before you go moving into these other junket ideas. Because guess what? You could be doing not MSP waves, but you could be doing whale shares on BitShares, and it works just the same as their SMT white paper. They're already doing it with BitShares, and they're just not advertising it or marketing it the right way.
Speaking of mobile app, do you have any recommendations for what would be better, the like
foundational
EC or,
ideas?
I think Steem is perfect for like a browser. Like if somebody would get in and start dialing up some browser script and changing a browser around so you can get your Steem, get a Steem browser.
I see
so you
that.
have your keys in your browser, and then you can go around and then use that browser to go in and block ads and do all this other shit, and beat something like the basic attention token to the yeah, beat that. Brave and the Bat token are ridiculous too, and we're waiting around forever for them to come up with something. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that we've been waiting on Ethereum for like 4 years? I've been waiting on Scenario for 4 years. Been waiting on Ethereum. I've been waiting, and then Steem comes out and like, finally, we're here. We have it. We're ready to go. And then these guys can't even get it off the ground. We're only at a million.
This is it. Your unedited pluses and minuses. I mean, really, I don't care if it's perfect. You know, fucking. And your opinion isn't the end all be all, but this is what I'm interested in hearing. You know,
but this is 2 years beta. I mean, I don't care if it's perfect either, but you don't stick around in beta for 2 years. You don't promise to get a like in the original white paper, you get a mobile app going, and 2 years later, you still don't have a mobile app.
Well,
you know,
and what I meant is in terms of the imperfection, I meant your ideas about the pluses and minuses, your unedited ideas, because I mean, I was just telling everybody here a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I'm not a purist when it comes to blockchain. I want to see what gets the job done best. And if it's innovative, thank you. And if it happens to be old hat and it's tried and true and it works, I'll go with that.
I want to get some people involved on Steem and using it as a basic system for paying people. So, for example, Full Time Geek is one of my followers, one of my fans. He's known me for 2 years on the platform, and he sprinkles upvotes all over my stuff. He's very kind and generous, and he likes what I write sometimes, you know. But if he powered up and went full in with his with a one account instead of spreading it out over bots or whatever, he could do at, I think this was, I did the math a few months ago, so the price might have been around $1.50 for a Steem, or maybe closer to $2. I don't know, but it was like he had the ability to give 10 full power votes a day, and each one of those votes could have been like $100, close to $100. So let's just say, for argument's sake, he had enough Steem power to give 10 full power votes a day at $100 a piece. Well, if you've got that kind of ability on this platform, go get a bunch of journalists underneath you and pay them. Pay them to write good shit. And in 1 week, they can cash in half that shit. It's a great system for paying people. It's a great system for, like, I want to put homeless people to work with this thing.
Absolutely. I'd go back to talent. Yeah. No, yeah.
I'd go take over a newspaper in a small town. This is one of my project plans that I'm working on. Take over a small newspaper in a small town and just manage the whole thing on Steem. I tried to bring a 40,000.
That sounds interesting.
I did. Okay. Well, I'll tell you, I started out a year ago trying to get a 40,000 member WordPress site to just dump their WordPress and come on to Steem it full time. The guy that manages the site would put 4 posts out a day on WordPress. 4 posts a day, which is about what you'd expect to be doing on Steem it. 4 posts a day was the general Steem power or whatever. So I was like, just switch over to this, and then you're automatically backed up. And he didn't like it. He lost his key. He couldn't understand it. You know, all these other things. You know, he was a 60-something, whatever. And blockchain was just kind of new, and he just didn't jibe with him. And since then, he spent like $10,000 trying to update his website and get his servers moved over to Iceland so they don't get DDoS'd. And he still doesn't have the ability to have comments. And there's all these negatives. Just using Steem it as a replacement to WordPress or Wix or some of these other things would be amazing. By the way, and Patrick knows this, I sell tea on Steem it. I sell tea for Steem. I sell these $10 bags of tea that are like real simple, you know, and all you have to do is just message me and do the hashtag in the messaging and send your address and say, hey, I'd like to buy, a bag of this or whatever, and send 10
practical.
Steam.
Yeah.
It's a POS system.
Yeah.
If I took it into a coffee shop, and I've done this, I've talked to coffee shop owners about just running Steem it as a side business for their coffee customers.
Quick transactions.
I'd love it if my favorite
liquidity is there
would allow me to pay Steem for fucking food and shit.
No, the liquidity is there. I mean, that's the thing. It's amongst the cryptocurrencies available. It's the most freely transferable one of the most that you'll find.
There's more transactions on Steem it than all the other blockchains combined. Mostly. I mean that's exaggerated, but it's close to something like that.
No, you're cutting to the chase.
It's a credit card system. I mean, this thing is a credit card system, and it moves at credit card speeds, and it could be a credit card system, payment rail, and a POS system, and yet they're still trying to jerk people over here like, hey, get paid for posting shit.
Well, and here's another cognitive bias, because you were talking a moment ago about the guy who, and I mentioned the term tried and true, the guy who, you know, and you can't change people. There are those who are risk averse, and there are those who are fucking, you know, into volatility, and they're more adventurous. And if you're sharp and if you're good with the hypotheticals, it can pay off, and it can pay off big. I'm not saying it's always going to work out, such as a risk. But
well, that's why I had to tell you about my times of failure.
Problem.
Failure is great. You know, we got to get people around this idea that everything's supposed to be successful and you know, puppy dogs and balloons and stuff. But like, no, failure is okay, and you just don't look at it as like failure. You just know where you want to go and what you want to do. In my early days on Steem, it was very simple. For 2 years, I've been projecting and talking and mimicking and, you know, making a lot of plans of saying, hey, I'm going to be a sci-fi novelist, or I'm going to do this sci-fi work, right? And then Steem showed up in April of 2016, and I was too bedridden to buy a bunch at 2 cents. I almost made a whole bunch of money on Steem. Like, I've made some money on some other cryptos, and this was the one I really could have made a lot of money on, because I could have just come in, bought like thousands of shares at 2 cents. Instead, I waited till July, got my name, because it was that difficult for me to do a lot of this stuff. And then in August or September, I finally wrote my first post. It was a complete rip-off post. I'm a plagiarizer. I write crappy sci-fi. That's not the point. The point is that like I was making, I was just making a point of like, hey, here's this new thing. I'm a cryptographic novel. I'm going to, you know, climb into this blockchain and use it as a turret, you know, to get around. And so 2 years ago, I had to drop the story of like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I can't do it, or you know, maybe a lot, you know, what all the sad sob stories. In Steem, it was this kick in the ass that said, nope, you've got no excuses now. Just get out there and do shit for yourself. And that was wonderful. So I'm very happy that they made that, you know, breakthrough in 2016. It came out, it was amazing. By 2017, I was still pretty gung ho, and I went so gung ho that I dropped my LinkedIn. I dropped 5,000 followers on LinkedIn, where I was actually doing pretty well, just keeping myself entertained. You know what I mean? Like, wake up in the morning, there's people saying hi to you, there's messages, blah, blah, blah. There's things to do, but nothing's getting done as far as like real, you know, essence in my life. It's just a lot of dopamine work. That's why people like social networks, because you waste, you know, hours and hours and hours just doing dopamine work, upvotes, looking at things, and nothing's really getting done, right? You might say that there's some information exchange. That's how you get certain alerts and stuff like that. But I really don't think that's the case. I think social networking is a tremendous waste of time. It's a tool that we could be using for great community building. But because the guys at the top centralized it and sold everything to advertisers, it follows all the same symmetrically, you know, caged models of the society. You cage a society by getting them to play by these stupid rules, and then they're playing by these rules, thinking that it's mimicking their real world. Yeah, it's a new cage. So Steem is this identity feature that's decentralized, that now anybody can build all these other social networks and let this identity in, and it's a payment rail with credit system attached. Like, this thing should be flying off the store shelves. It should be adopted widely. It's not. In 2017, Medium was only looking for $1 million. And by that time, Steem had busted into the $1 billion mark at that point. And I was like, guys, why aren't you out there buying up Medium and just converting their base over? Right. And here today, Medium is still out there chugging around saying it's a great free network. None of these networks are free, by the way. None of
But it's a dead-ass paradigm. It's popular. It gained traction for some obvious and very good and beneficial reasons, but it's an old-ass dead paradigm.
Mm-hmm. And it could be DDoS.
You have to have a sense of adventure, but along the same lines, this is the one with far more promise.
Yep. And if you get if you get too wild with it, or it starts going the wrong way, it'll split. You know, there's already another version of it. There's Golos out there for the Russians. I think there's a Korean split, and there's another one that's splitting. But I don't know. This chain is a great sandbox to play in these realms. But until somebody takes it to the next level, like take it. Who's the other gentleman that had cut in with us for just a minute? What was his name? Sorry. thinking of the other guy.
Spalding.
You.
Mr. Spalding. John.
No, I know Spalding. I know Spalding. The other guy with the cap. Okay. You got a name I can't really name. It's like with an easy in there. Anyway, easy. You said that you'd love to go to a coffee shop and do this. Like, go and talk to your bartenders or your wait staff or your baristas. Yeah. And talk to them and see if you can get them on Steem and then make them the POS convert. Like,
always.
You know, the waiters, they always run around with money in their thing because they're making change for people and they run to the cash register for you and all that stuff.
Teach one.
Yeah. You just get them to start getting a Steem account.
That work at the counter.
I would love it if hot baristas were to use Steem it. But I'm afraid it's not going to be perfect, but it's a start. Like if you can get, I got a guy that works at a pho restaurant, and I'm trying really hard to get him on Steem it because I want to just be able to come in and buy my pho with Steem rather than my Bitcoin or anything else I have left over. But yeah, I mean that's it in a nutshell, guys. I'm one of the most outspoken critics of Steem it, but I'm also, because I've been on it for so long and I embraced it and I literally imbued my life's work into it because that's what I believe the blockchain could do for me. So I hold it to, I believe, higher esteem than the asshole that, beat the poor kid up that built it for him. I mean, I don't know what Ned did. I don't know if he picked on him or if he made fun of him or what. It's something very childish between those two.
Right.
Dan and him were not getting along from day one. Yeah. And when Dan finally left and cashed out his money, knowing full well he was going to crash the price and all this other stuff, and none of this dirty laundry ever got dealt with on the blockchain the right way. These guys ran off to Telegraph. They ran off to Twitter. They ran off to all these other things.
You're not willing to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, and that I think is admirable. I mean, their human disconnect and their fucking propensity to drama and emotion and whatever crap and their different perspectives. It's like, this is technology. This is innovation. Where's the good stuff? And can we get past that? Like any great business, can I get my fucking ego out of the way and my mythological fears and let's find the good in it?
Well, you got 2 years of proof that they can't. So I say we get rid of those guys and get Steem it Inc. replaced very, very soon. If you want to stay on this platform and see any future in it, I want to see the platform. Like, for one, I want to get Full-Time Geek in the top 20. I'd love to get 20 witnesses as an amalgam, like a federation, 20 good guys that know each other, maybe all over the world or whatever. Better decision making if you get the top 20 witnesses all working essentially against Steem it Inc., saying, look, no more is it going to go into your guys' hands. You're going to talk to us and you're going to do what we say.
And this is what matters.
Yeah. In fact, I was trying to push him to let's get behind that. And I would like to get like a 1.5 million Steem power behind it.
He's our resident genius, by the way, unheralded. I didn't say anything, and he'd like it better that way. But
I look far and wide for guys like Patrick.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And the way I would promote those 20 witnesses, John, is I would say that what we could do is we could start doing things like services that the witnesses can provide for the community that could be paid for services. I don't need another blockchain to do what I can do with Steem. I can do almost everything every other blockchain wants to do with Steem, believe it or not, because it all comes down to one simple little function: identity. Okay? Their identity set is built into their wallet. The wallet is the identity. It's the most brilliant thing. I got to give Dan a hell of a lot of credit for doing it like this. Okay? So you're at John Spalding. Boom. I could send you,
not Ned.
A tenth of a penny.
Sorry for interrupting, but all seeing you wanted John to know that his mic is muted on this stream.
I heard him loud and clear.
I'm gonna have to dub in
geniuses. You stop it.
I never turned it back on. I'm gonna have to dub in someone else's VOD version into mine, so I look
Where's
halfway.
My robe?
I did that too earlier.
Competent. I've done it.
Fire.
She wants you to play me for Halloween. She wants you to put on that hat and put on that frilly neck piece and
I know.
Pose for pictures.
I know.
Yeah.
I told her it would have to be a future Halloween. But I didn't have enough time to throw that together in a weekend.
Delayed reaction.
I'm already planning to be Eric Draven next year.
Oh, sweet.
Sure.
The crow, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. But the 20 witnesses could be selling services like storage, like video storage, like the one thing. Like, here's one thing we absolutely should have had from day one, and it's still not here, and I'm really upset about it. Is an email alternative, because the private messaging feature already exists on this blockchain. Make it work like an email.
This is not a
Whoa, someone's got some audio.
An alternative to Wix, like drag and drop, like you make your own website and it's hosted on the Steem blockchain. You can connect your own domain to it and whatnot.
This could be far more richly interactive, is what you're saying over there.
And it would also help in the scaling issues. The scaling debate is still something I find really, really absurd, because they've already kind of, addressed it many times, as what they keep talking about, the lightning network. So where you're going to have these big bulges of activity, you're just going to have to create these kind of side-chained events that keep that activity, running in check or whatever. So that's how they deal with scaling. This thing, blockchains are not designed to be these fractal scaling things, but this witness design in this blockchain makes it perfect for that. You can make the scaling by divvying out services. And I was working on this a year ago. I can go into a lot of detail about some of the other blockchains I was trying to help work or build or do things, but it all kept falling apart because I kept seeing everybody doing the wrong things right, or the wrong things, continue to do the wrong thing.
I'm going to quote you on that.
Yeah, wrong things writer is actually a quote from the website that I was working with. It's an open source. It's an open source, like saying. And another
the knowledge got freed already.
Mm-hmm. And so where I was going with that was that these blockchains were all doing the same thing before, which is like, okay, we'll create a coin and that'll be our currency, and then we'll take 10%, and that'll be our reserve, and it'll be for us to do whatever we want to. It's like, wait a minute, you're already budgeting before you've even determined the valuation of your product.
Right.
You can't just do that, and that's what they keep doing. It's almost like they're children, and they've never learned that you can't do it that way, but this is the only way they've been taught. So everybody wants to keep doing the Bitcoin experiment again. And you don't do it that way. Like, make one blockchain that is going to be around. Like, Bitcoin is going to be around. I really am amazed that they didn't also hedge. Like, they hedged Steem it to the dollar, or they pegged Steem it to the dollar. You know that, right? So that's built into the chain. It looks at 17 feeds for real-time data.
I have problems with that, but go ahead.
I do too, because I think that should have been pegged back to the Bitcoin blockchain, which is a giant supercomputer and an eternal clock,
Far more sense. Yes.
That has this already a reserve, in place. And so if you pegged, to the value of $1 outside, but also pegged to the actual, limited dimension of the Bitcoin blockchain, because there's only going to be so many of those. You have these static numbers that you could be putting. You don't statically connect your blockchain to something that's
fiat bullshit.
That's fiat bullshit. It's that simple. It's that simple. And these guys, I had a lot of arguments with a few of the guys in the back, and that's why they don't like me over there at Steem it, because I've had so many arguments.
They don't have that sense of adventure. They don't have that vision.
Well, they're sensitive autists out there.
Well, no, they're engaging. They realize.
Bitcoin, I'd be kind of interested to see like a similar concept to Steem it, but like with legitimate Bitcoin or legitimate Ethereum, where like you're earning satoshis and
why not?
It's the big picture. Yeah. So they have this idea that that necessary idea we all need to have, that you have to engage in the present systems to some extent, but they went too far. Right.
Yeah. So, but beyond all that, what's cool is that it actually got out there on some exchanges, and it actually started bumping up and becoming worth something. And I've watched for 2 years, I've watched people pay their bills, save up, buy a car, buy a computer, be able to pay their rent, feed themselves, do all kinds of things that I've never seen, for the social network side of it. Amazing. Because here's a social network that's doing these kinds of things. This is amazing stuff. But it's all because of the power of a cryptocurrency. So then what happens is the greed of people gets in, and they're like, oh, I can do that too. And then I'll just go right away. I'll tell you who's doing it now. It's really rubbing me the wrong way. I'm really bothered by this. But Ben Swan, journalist, Truth and Media, starting an organization called Isagoria, a blockchain. They haven't even written the white paper yet. They're like, yeah, December we'll get a white paper, but we're raising $2 million for it today. Like you guys are backwards. Then we'll never see it. You're all backwards unless you can get in there right. Like I'm going to be talking to them hopefully and bringing them onto Steem. And here's a little inside track. If I talk to Ben Swan and I can convince him to, I'm going to make sure that he does a massive, massive expose on Steem Inc. and Ned Scott and dig deep into everything.
Isn't this the problem with so many businesses though, working the formula in reverse? You go to get the contract, you get the contract because you offer them the cheapest fucking deal, and I don't mean the less expensive, the cheapest fucking deal, and then you proceed to rip everybody else off along the way such that you can give them the deliverables at price. And it's all wrong. It's the opposite way of working any given formula.
Yeah, it's doing the wrong things righter. That's exactly it.
There you go.
Just keep doubling down to that sense of I don't know, duty, or that's just the way they're taught or whatever. But so, for example, another way to explain this was Scenario did the same thing. So Scenario, like original coins I bought have changed. You know, they did these ICOs early. You buy a token, then somehow the token's got to change. Oh, trade in these tokens for now we're on this platform. Those types of events out there are messes. They're just messes. The story behind DTube, for example, on Steemit, as much as we like or dislike DTube, I'll tell you the real quick story is the guy who did that, Hyman Danger, wrote a post on it one weekend. You can go find it. It made $1,500. So he's like, oh, well, I like this. You know, people liked it enough. I guess I'll just start coding it and writing it right now. So you got DTube because it bypassed those particularly stupid, what I called engineered dumbfuckery events, where they're like, hey, let's raise a bunch of money and then write a white paper and then hire people and then write code and then do it. And like 6 years later, you're still waiting for them to put whatever it was that they promised you.
Engineered dumbfuckery.
You know what I mean? The speed of what I saw with like DTube, even though DTube's not perfect, it's far better than anything else I've ever seen on blockchain because it came on board Steemit just like that. It's like, hey, it would be easy for Steemit to just do this IPF thing, and then you do it like this, and you do it like this, and then he ended up making $1,500 on that one post, and he's like, sure, I'll just start coding it. And so by next weekend, they had like a 0.1 version of it out, and it sucked. And then by the next month, it was a little better, and then the next month a little better, and it was all funded and promoted. It was all plotted out right here on this blockchain. You can go back and read the entire history of it. It's amazing.
That's a cool story. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just saying the fact I could do that with DTube, but the guys that at Steem Inc. have no history of doing anything like that is ridiculous. Go to steemit.com, one post, steemit.com/@steemit, the one that's got like $40 million in its account. Okay, and there's one post. Hey, welcome to Steemit, where you can get paid for posting, and that's it. That's the post.
Right. Do you think that this the SMT date and the subsequent release or supposed release is fictional?
Totally.
Yes.
So I'm going to be happily surprised. I'll accept it and I'll jump in because I'll make a Frank Bacon coin. Yes, I'll use SMTs, but I think they're an absolute. Yeah, I think they're a load of shit. If anything, they should be going into BitShares and doing what Whale Shares is doing and trying to create community tokens that way so that they can at least bolster BitShares a little bit. But everybody I've talked to, most everybody, I'm not going to say everybody, most everybody I've talked to, which is maybe about half a dozen people that have gotten involved in any kind of coding or working on this, think that this chain sucks balls. They think there's something very wacky going on under the hood. There's something weird going on with the vests, how vests are moved around and how that works.
There's a lot of foundational crap that needs to be shed.
It seems like it, yeah. And it seems to be that that's getting in the way of us getting, better and better things. The only mobile app that we have to date is eSteem, thanks to, Good Karma. He doesn't even work for Steemit. So Steemit's, once again, they're waiting on the community to go build them stuffs that they're promising us. Mm-hmm. And I'm so irritated by that, guys. So irritated by that. I will never, ever, break professionalism to the extent of like throwing a chair at somebody, but I really want nothing to do with that group unless they're going to sit down.
XCWE, we're the wrestlers of the platform.
Yeah.
Throw a chair.
Yeah, a little anarchy goes a long way, Right.
Well, I mean, it couldn't be too complicated to make a Ned mask and like we're already working on like making a Wayne mask for the D Live owner. So like I mean, we can have like a big triple threat match where a bunch of people just beat the shit out of the CEO of D Live.
Wasn't that quite a spectacle though, too, guys? The whole D Live.
Yeah.
My God, don't get us started on that.
Yeah.
God, I mean, like,
we have someone in here who's been hit or hurt the most by them.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know. I think there's a lot of people where it was.
I'd say it was Eric.
I would say Eric. He was a lot more invested than
I
us.
love me some Eric. More and more. God damn it.
He's a pioneer ESP change. You got to find your tribe.
Find your tribe. I definitely. It was more of an emotional thing for me.
It was.
Sure.
I mean, I was kidding around. I posted the hashtag Lino Beans in a Discord over the weekend, and it ignited that there's still a divide, right? Because So and it's not a bad divide. It's more like a where do live streamers stand on this blockchain and all the shit that went down.
Here's something really simple. Let me ask something really simple. So those guys who did D Live, what I saw is I saw D Live come in. I logged in with my Steam Connect. I then had access to this really cool chat feature that I was like, oh, bully, this is awesome. Now I can start chatting with people and not have to use, TeamSpeak or Discord. I can go into, D Live. The other thing is I could be sitting there on D Live and watching as, people popped on. And then I would jump in and meet new people and be like, hey, here's a bot. Boom, it was right there. Or hey, here's a, ring or whatever. So it took them some time to build that. And then they moved it over to Lino, right? Is it the same thing that they're using? In other words, did they just tweak what they had built on this platform, move it over to Lino? Because I don't think it would work like that. I think they still have like a mothballed version of D2 that would work on Steeming. And I want to go back to those guys and say, look, what's it going to take to just buy that from you? Like, what is it? Like, how much do you want for just that? And we'll rebrand it. We'll call it something else, not D Live. And we'll use it, or I'll get, another company to use it or something. But I want what they had. I loved how pretty it was. Like, the one thing I like about Steeming is very important for me because I've suffered a lot of neurological problems. And I'll tell you, when you look at a computer screen with all the ads and the flash.
We buy it up from them when we give it to Vim.
What's that?
We should buy it up from them and give it to Vim.
Well, sure, why not? Vim is not as good as D Live. I'm sorry, it's not. It doesn't look any. Or give it to somebody else. There ought to be different flavors. I'm totally cool with different flavors because the one cool thing is that like you could be, doing your stuff on Vim only, and I can come in and log in with my Steam account and still tip you. It's not that big a deal.
Right. Well, and like what you said about it being, if that's proprietary to that group of four, who cares what blockchain it's on and why couldn't it be, like you said, on multiple? You mess up with your own branding if you, I think right now, choose.
Yeah, I think they made a big mistake by but they made a mistake because something happened at Steemit. Again, you're not hearing the whole story. Something they did really
it was political. It's not about like I talk in here about design. I talk about features, functionality. I talk about performance. I talk about, what do you have in mind, interoperability. It's not about design. Something political was going on there.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, there are things that their coders saw too that they didn't like, and I would love to know what that is. Like again, there's a lot
about that.
A lot of people touch this thing, man, and they want to run from it. They want nothing to do with it. I know a lot of coders that they're never coming back to this blockchain, and I would really like to know why. So again, I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm very, very precautious here.
It's ego. It's fucking mythical fears.
Stop massaging your mic. Jeez, it's like thunder in my fucking ear.
Sorry.
I look up and you're like, oh, hey.
Sorry about that.
Well, let me throw this out for you guys so that I don't take up any more of your time, and I just want to get in a different direction. Do you guys know anything about steampunk radio?
Somewhat.
Okay. I started that over a year ago without any ability to do it because I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it. I just wanted to start rocking the hashtag like Lino Beans. So I bought it. I gave it to a friend of mine who gave it to his girlfriend, who then went and created a radio station, and it's not going anywhere. So I'd like to get it back, and I'd love to just be running a 24-hour radio stream like MSP Waves, but the brand steampunk radio. I like the brand steampunk radio.
Gotcha.
You know, and I think something like this format could work well in something like steampunk radio.
And where can we find your crappy sci-fi on Steeming?
At Frank Bacon.
All right.
And actually, the better way to do it is to just go and do this for me, ESP.
He loves getting people to Google for him.
Oh God, yeah. Because I worked so,
Yeah.
bro, I worked so hard on that SEO.
I'm naturally defiant. Tell me to Google something.
Steam it, Frank, Bacon, just those three together.
I'm all over it. Yeah.
I own the first 3 pages of Google.
All right. So what was the radio thing called?
Steampunk Radio. STEEM.
Sounds gay.
Yeah. It's gay. I mean, it's not doing anything but playing this old music. Seriously, it sucks. Because the person...
Do they sing? They're not like rhyming shit and ABC and 3 times and fucking cadence and...
Oh, it's terrible. It's like listening to a bad classic rock station. It's just got it on loop. And then I have my shows, because I used to do radio in Austin. I have my shows playing on there a little bit here and there. And 2 years ago in Austin, I was talking about Steam It and talking about how good this was going to be and how big it was going to be, and talking, you know, about all these predictions and stuff like that. And it's not that I feel like they've made me look bad, because none of my predictions have not come true. They just haven't come true in the big grand way. You know, like I'm pretty good at calling things and when they're going to happen. Kind of like the Civil War in America. Like, trust me, there's a Civil War in America going on.
Let me tell you about an experience I had recently, and I'll keep it quick. I was watching these preppers. They're not preppers, they're homesteaders. And they moved to a new place in Idaho. They moved from one side of Idaho to the other side of Idaho. They've had a successful YouTube thing for about 4 years. First, they build a yurt, and then they build a plumbing system, and they put up some platforms. They want to build their house, blah, blah, blah. So the thing is that I watched that I was drawn in. It was a very human thing. They were passionate. They were real. It was all from the heart. Again, without sensibility, it doesn't matter. They were smart people. They're good people. And I watched them, and like on their fucking 300th episode, after about 4.5 years, they talk about the 3 things that we would have done differently, or the 3 things that we were unaware of. And I thought they were going to talk about things. But what they talk about is fairy tale timelines. And then the next thing they talk about is, and I'm trying to remember this, these are like big picture intangible things. It's like they talk about, how they didn't get involved with the community, right? You know, so they're not talking about how I didn't fix my plumbing just exactly. They're not talking about how I didn't get the fan right in the yurt. They're talking about, you know, fairy tale timelines, how I didn't engage my community when I should have, or when I could have, and benefited from that. And the next thing they talked about is they talked about quick fixes for really what were serious long-term problems. And when they went to apply these quick fixes to the serious long-term problems, it didn't work. So again, there's a gestalt. There's an idea, a few ideas to be gained here, I think. So, yeah.
Starts with identity.
It is always about the best thing that this will do for us is help us build true connections, real relations, real human bonding, albeit at a distance, as best we possibly can, to the degree that we're willing to adapt and the technology and infrastructure changes. And beyond that, that's all about identity. Beyond that, it's about trust, which is, of all the human virtues, is the one that carries the most currency.
I just got back where I could read some things here, and I'm going to follow up with what you were just saying with, you know, it sounds like the hippie group, the homesteaders.
Yeah.
The group of individuals, right? Is that what you're getting at? But they were looking at these non-tangible things, like what they would do different, right? Like outreach more. Yeah.
Ideas.
I think important things, right? So the radio thing is I know I keep getting crap for this. Bacon took over everything, which is what he does. All right.
That's what he does. We're just passengers on the ride, man. This is great.
Yeah. Well,
sometimes we hate driving, you know.
Yeah,
most of us.
I have limitations, and so when I can strike when the iron's hot, I strike when the iron's hot. And I had a good Saturday by meeting somebody that I knew I was going to meet 2 years ago. That's how weird my life is. And turns out that person's probably going to end up being the one that figures out like all these things that we've been talking about tonight. Is this, am I going to stay on this platform, or am I going to get this guy to go in there and find things that I'm interested in knowing and bring it to the surface so that we can all, know, like, is this a broken blockchain? Can it be trusted? Is it gamed? I think it's already gamed because you take 80% of it.
It should be a casino at this point.
It's totally, yeah. I don't know how these guys sleep at night, I had to come on and do my face because otherwise people think that I'm a complete, AI, but I am a real person.
It's all good. Don't even worry about it.
And I had to come in and fill up my E cartridge. So
the truth will set you free.
Guys, this has been great. I want to
thanks for jumping on, man. I'll be honest, I got a lot of sift through.
Appreciate
I have to go back and re-listen.
Well, let me ask you, ESP, did you actually pull up anything on me?
No, actually, I've forgotten it all. I don't even give a shit.
All right. Well, I would say
I'm gonna go pee again.
Check that out sometime. Everybody, Google Steem It and Frank Bacon. You'll see that's been really good SEO for me.
Or I'm taking notes. It's all here in my noodle. Thank you. Thank you.
No.
Thanks for stopping by. Seriously. This has been helpful. I need people to challenge my thinking. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. This has been good for me, and I really appreciate the opportunity. So hopefully it won't be the last time. And I'm looking at Eric, saying bye to Eric. I'm sorry I got your name wrong. TJS or TJH. I'm just going to call you TJ in the future. Patrick can't hear me. Gone rogue. Very nice to meet all of you. You guys have a great night. Okay.
All right, man. Yeah. Thanks for jumping on.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks so much, man.
You got it.
Yeah.
Out of trouble. Whatever that means.
Yeah.
I tell my mom, who's 78, to stay out of trouble. She's like, "What are you talking about? Leave me alone."
That's the one badass thing about doing the show, man. Is like every week, someone new has come on.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And then just the amount of people that choose to stay.
I'm calling it. Frank's a regular.
He's stuck on my Zoom window. So
no, he's holding really still. Really still.
Lurking.
I don't think Bacon is capable of holding that still, to be honest.
Well, that's what you said in here. She said, "I wish he would learn about flattering camera angles or stay the fuck off camera."
Yeah.
Well, I'm subject to the occasional vast outpouring, so I can kind of relate.
Well, I got to get rolling too. It's
all right.
Late, but I can keep this. I can keep this window open
sure
if you
that
guys
I get
want.
them sleep for later today, so I can capture some Scorpio goth girl that I'm gonna meet at Guar.
Oh yeah. Good
Guar.
luck.
When's the Guar concert?
Tomorrow or tonight?
Later tonight at 8 p.m.
Hell yeah. Have a great time. I love Guar. I really do. I fucking love Guar. I hope they jam. I hope you have a great time.
If I'm around to it, I'm probably gonna live stream it.
Let's go around. What'd you learn tonight? What was your favorite part?
Bullshit, random bullshit.
All right, next.
No, it was a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. All seeing you isn't here anymore. She's still here.
She's watching somewhere.
She's online saying hi.
Nice. It was good, man. I love the perspective of veterans of the Steem blockchain jumping on, giving us their perspective, and kind of really getting to the root of it, which is the identity problem. And that's what was fascinating, at least for me, is getting some kind of validation that it is identity that we need to be working towards, and then working on solutions from there. Yeah, dude, it was incredible insights, at least from Frank and everybody else, just tossing your guys' ideas and talking about stuff. That was fun to listen to, man. That was good.
speak on just briefly where the graphics are. All Scene was wondering where Narashi's graphics are tonight.
Oh, yeah, I needed a break today, you guys. I did not have a single day off in the past like 12 days, so and today was insane.
So your only homework, if I were to give you some, which I'm not, would be to do the steaming pile, election day something, and just a picture of Frank Bacon from your memory.
Whatever happened to election day?
What do you mean? We did it, but then we all decided, F it, we don't care. That's why we're here anyway, and we just abandoned it.
We didn't care.
I mean, I knew that's what would happen. That's what always happens, right?
But we touched on it. Listen, we've been here for what, 3.5 hours for that part, so we touched on it. We got it.
Let me cover it like the mainstream media. So in this state here, there's a critical election, and this incumbent,
the chin scratchers.
We make it sound like a sports event.
We got
some kind of.
We got bigger fish to fry, and that's the future of the Steem blockchain.
Thank you.
Right. Right.
All right, who's next in giving theirs? What'd you learn? What stood out most to you?
I learned that I'm more grateful to all of you, and that I like you even better. How's that?
Nice.
Ditto.
Take it.
You can't do ditto.
I tried.
You can't do ditto.
No, it was good. I like to hear. I would say that I definitely learned that. Rather than focusing on what we disagree on, one of the things that most of us seem to agree on is more of a bottom-up approach. And I think for that to be effective, it really comes down to what are we doing to go towards that goal of, bottom up requires more action rather than us delegating our power to somebody else. It really requires us to take more responsibility for it and to do what we can to be the change we want to see.
Real involvement. Yes.
Yeah, and I think with that, full support of this show to Patrick's witness survey.
Yes. Yeah.
And taking account what Franken just said.
Exactly.
That could be where we go.
Exactly.
And then take over Ned's hair.
Take over Steam Fest in Austin.
We're bound for glory. This train.
And by the way, Austin is a sweet ass city. There's music all the time on 7th Street. So,
I've been there.
Sean, you would like it. You would. Well,
I love Tex-Mex.
There would be some interesting vlogs and other videos of you and all sorts of things like that if the steaming pile were to invade Austin.
Oh, you damn right. Let's make it happen. I and I don't know how good his hair is. I haven't really been paying attention, but
it's got to be better than mine. Got to be better than mine.
Working on a double decker here.
Hair is what matters.
Hair is what matters. Not a man without the hair. So is that it?
I think
so. That's it.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah, I would say I'm going to post a replay of my interview with Patrick. So if you guys want to keep an eye out for that, give it a re-steam. I'm probably going to throw it up on Twitter too tomorrow. So give that a retweet or what have you. That'd be cool.
Absolutely.
And someone send me a VOD of the recording for this show so I can get my voice out of it and put it splice it into my video.
Will you do that for me too?
Yes, Eric. That middle finger was for ESP.
For the whole thing for 3 hours. I'm just kidding. But
Is my
I honestly wasn't even sure I was going to be on today. You can ask Sean. I wasn't 100%. Wasn't.
Yeah, well, I know you were on and on, but that's what I said. Come on, lurk. I'm sure you'll find some place to.
Yeah. It worked out as always. It always works. It works.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming over, man.
Oh, hey, Frank said fire Ned. He said yes, I could help you in Austin, and he said take over Steamfest.
This was a very good.
Let's do it.
This was a very good.
Oh, we can rate it. We can pay people to come in with steaming pile shirts.
Dude.
Will we have to
pitchforks.
pay them? I mean, we just have that many fans.
Right. I mean, we could. I mean, there's plenty of time between now and then to take over Steamfest.
Yes.
We ought to.
When is it? Is it?
It's like I think it's in April. I don't know the specific date, but I think it's far enough away that
that's doable.
All right, everyone. Here we go.
Thanks.
All right.
Good night.
Boom. It's a wrap.
Good night, y'all.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
Same channel, same time. Thank you all for voting, all the support. I ended up getting lots of it.
It's more to life out here. 5-star on the table. Make posts, that's all I know. Read Steem.